3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on into another week and a Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all of our great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, and as always, streaming on YouTube. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4476 is the number to jump on in. And you could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Folks, this is going to be an interesting show today right out of the gate. I'm going to be honest with you. You know, there's some times where I'll take a red-eye flight, or I'll take an early morning flight after a Super Bowl, after a national championship game, and there's just certain adrenaline that you have that you just power through and you muscle through, and maybe you were in a sober state of thought for most of the time where you were at a game where you walk in the studio, you do a 3-hour show, and it's easy peasy to get through a day of work when you have a Super Bowl to react to off no sleep, or you have a national championship game to react to off no sleep. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. I was on, I guess you could say, vacation. I don't really consider a bachelor party vacation because then you get back from the bachelor party and you need a vacation. But I was in Las Vegas Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I landed this morning in Newark, New Jersey. Thank God, by the way, because I thought I was going to be stuck in Las Vegas for another day or two, and that would have been a problem, even though I had the funds to make it through because it was a very good winning week for your boy out in Las Vegas. We'll get to more of that later, but no delays in the airport. I did think for a second there was going to be an issue, Stu, because when I'm back in the airport, there was like a group of 4 or 5 guys behind me, and none of them were actually from America. They all had passports. They were very rowdy. I've never seen this. The plane got delayed 8 minutes when we did take off today, which 8 minutes considering what I thought it was going to be with the 2-hour and 30-minute delay that I had getting to Vegas on Thursday, which was just a mess with the airports. But that's par for the course these days when you travel all across the USA. It's just delay after delay after delay after delay for the last 3-4 years. But I was on like a little bit of a good luck streak for about 4 or 5 times where I didn't have any delays after just getting slaughtered the last few years and having to cancel trips left and right because it's a nightmare to fly sometimes. But anyway, I'm in the airport and there's a ramp supervisor in Las Vegas. Now, I've never seen that. Like, for example, when I flew from New York to Des Moines to then go from Des Moines to Lincoln, Nebraska on a trip, when I was in the Des Moines airport, not a rowdy place if we're going to be honest, I didn't see anyone that was supervising people. But you go to Vegas where you're monitoring people and, you know, people go to Vegas, they have a little bit to drink, they do some other stuff as well, and it's like Party USA, here we go. The ramp supervisor lady, and this was awesome to watch because I'm just looking, she's walking up to the people at the gate. They're like, this guy's not going to be able to fly. And I go, oh, I think they have an idea what's going. And then I heard the ramp supervisor lady said, the guy got up and fell on his way to the bathroom. So they went up to him and said, sir, there's a 10:30 flight. You're not going to be on this 10:30 flight. There's one that takes off at like midnight or something or 11:30. They go, we'll see if you could sober up in an hour. And they didn't let him on the plane. And no, the person I was talking about was not Stuart Kovacs. Stu was not in Las Vegas. But I couldn't believe that. I have a few other stories I'll get to later on in the show. But we got a whole lot to do. And by the way, what an epic sports weekend. No, I have no clue what I'm going to say into the microphone today. I hope this isn't one of those shows where, because I'm on no sleep, by the way, that we get out of here at 6 p.m. and then at 6:10, I get a call from management. Oh, you said something. You know, if today's ever going to be a day, and I don't think I'll get suspended, but if today is ever going to be a day that Zach Gelb gets suspended for saying something on the radio, today could be the day because I am on no sleep coming off a bachelor party for 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I did one of the dumbest things ever. I took the red eye back on Sunday. Now, I thought I was being a loyal friend, Stu. You know, it was a group of 18 of us. And then after Saturday into Sunday, it turned down to 16. But most people went home on Sunday. Like earlier in the day, middle of the day. My core group of friends that were on this bachelor party said, oh, let's take the red eye. It was like 7 or 8 more of them. So I said, all right, even though I could have changed my flight and got out yesterday at 1 in the afternoon or 11:30 a.m., I said I'm going to stick through and pull through with the squad. And if I'm going to be honest, today I'm regretting it. Because I don't know, and this can be just me bitching to bitch, but the red eye flight, when you have to do something the next day, is a horrible idea. It really is. One of my friends said, oh, I'll just land, jump on call for a second, working from home, and then going to sleep. I don't got that luxury. I got to sit here in front of a camera. That's why I'm wearing a hat today, because I didn't want to comb my hair. And, I found a way to put on a shirt and pants that match. So away we go. So we'll do a little radio program today, and it should be a fun one. But trying to sleep on that plane on that red eye. on a full flight back was just not a good idea. Now, I was able to wake up miraculously when they had the ginger ale. I had to get a ginger ale on the plane, and they had one of those waffles. What is that, Stroop waffle or something like that?
Stroop waffle, yes.
Yeah, those are absolutely delicious. But I slept for the majority of the flight, or I think I slept for the majority of the flight. You never know. But when I landed in Newark this morning and then had to sit in an hour Uber with traffic after traffic after traffic, when it usually just takes 25 minutes to get back to my apartment, your boy's struggling a little bit today. Did win the Derby, though. Little sovereignty. Nice bet last second. 9-1. Cha-ching. Played a little roulette yesterday. May have won $500 at roulette. So it was a winning weekend. Most of the time you go on these trips to Vegas and you just lose. It was a winning weekend for your boy. There's one story that I'll tell later that, like when you're hanging out with your friends and something happens and you think it's the funniest thing in the world, and then you tell it to other people and maybe they don't think it's funny. Well, something happened in Las Vegas. This will be a tease for later that I'll get to at some point in the show that I thought was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And I'm going to run it past Stu. I'm going to run it past Samter. And I'm going to get your thoughts on this later on in the show because I think it's a new way that everyone should live when you're in public and you see someone in front of you potentially ruining your meal that isn't associated with your meal, but they're in a fight from a table over and they're standing in front of your table fighting. I have a new thing that my friend created in the moment, impromptu, that we executed at that table to get the situation to die down for the couple that was fighting and get them the F away from us. So this is going to be fun coming up later in the show, and I'll see what Stu and Samter think about that, right? It is Stu and Samter working today. Yes, okay, just making sure. All righty, let's get to this. The Golden State Warriors. What an epic weekend of sports, by the way. I got to Vegas on Thursday. Sully picked me up from the airport. We were watching the Vegas Golden Knights game. We also watched the Knicks with Jalen Brunson just end the Detroit Pistons season. But then you had that Game 7 yesterday where St. Louis looked like they were going to find a way to take down the President's Trophy winners and the Winnipeg Jets under 2 minutes to go. And it's a 2-goal game in favor of St. Louis. And with 1.6 seconds left, you had the St. Louis Blues blow the game in regulation. It goes to overtime, and they couldn't get the job done in double overtime, and Winnipeg survives. You also had a lot of great basketball. James Harden didn't show up once again in a big series, and the Denver Nuggets did advance, which I think is good for the NBA because Nikola Jokic is the best player in the league. But yesterday, there was a lot of intrigue around the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets. And the Rockets are in that spot where they're young. They also have a lot of draft capital. So you're wondering, how far could this team take it this year? And I thought Golden State was going to win this opening series because I don't really care about the play-in tournament nonsense. The postseason starts where you get, the 1-8 matchups, the 2-7s, and so on and so on. But in this one, Golden State was cruising. They're up 3-1 in the series. And then they drop Game 5. All right, so it's 3-2. They're on their home court. They can't close it out in Game 6. And then you get to Game 7. This was a big potential moment for the Houston Rockets, which, if you've been following basketball for the last 15 years, I know the teams have changed, like the players on the team. But when you look at this Golden State Warriors core, they have just absolutely abused the Houston Rockets. It actually led to one of the most moments in sports that I can't stand the most. When Daryl Morey, when he was running the Rockets after they've lost another series to the Golden State Warriors, were like, oh, well, we have the most wins in games in series, even though that we lost compared to any other team in the NBA. Now, Daryl Morey's no longer there. Kevin Durant is obviously no longer there with the Golden State Warriors. James Harden's obviously no longer there with the Houston Rockets. Chris Paul is obviously no longer there with the Houston Rockets. But there's just certain teams that it doesn't matter what players come and go. They just always find a way to rip the heart out of the other team. And that's what the Golden State Warriors did once again. You go from being up 3-1 in the series to the momentum shifting in 5 and 6. You're going back to Houston for a Game 7. And let's be real. Steph Curry showed you why he's one of the greatest players of all time, where he has 14 fourth-quarter points, and he's clearly not 100% with that hand injury that he has. And then you also got to see Buddy Hield just have a ridiculous night. And you never know, night in or night out, who gets hot from 3. Like, look at the Knicks-Pistons game 1. Who had Cam Payne taking over that game before it started? Now, I know Buddy Hield is a heck of a basketball player, but did I walk into yesterday thinking Buddy Hield was going to have 33 points and he was going to tie a Game 7 record for the most made three-pointers in a Game 7 with 9? I thought Golden State was going to win yesterday for a multitude of reasons, but how they won was very impressive. And the biggest reason why I knew Golden State was going to win yesterday, and we have a Hickey Hex coming up later on in the show, is because Hickey said there was no shot the Warriors were going to win Game 7. And he was trashing Steph. He was trashing Buddy Hield. I wasn't even really on social media much this weekend, like on Twitter. Instagram, I was on a bunch. And I got a lot of tweets yesterday because I guess now Hickey, because he's working for Bill Ryder, and he's the new executive producer for Bill Ryder's show since Diesel left. I guess Hickey's no longer doing Hick at Night from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., and now he's doing Sundays from 2 to 6 p.m. Eastern. So he was on before the game yesterday, and Hickey's sitting there, and I guess the whole 4-hour show he was doing was, why the Golden State Warriors are going to lose. So I may have made one last bet in Vegas after just dominating the roulette tables, and that was, okay, let me go play some money on the Golden State Warriors to win the game up against the Houston Rockets. So what a wonderful moment for the Warriors. I don't think this is a team that's going to win a championship this year. I don't. But you look at the Western Conference in the NBA, does it get much better than this? Where you look and you see Denver, and Denver with Nikola Jokic is just unbelievable. The multiple-time MVP award winner, an NBA champion, an NBA Finals MVP, and now they go up against who I think is the best team in the Western Conference. I would say the second best team in the NBA, because I'm still going to give the edge to the Boston Celtics. But now you get Denver up against Oklahoma City, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander up against Nikola Jokic, and then also in the West, now you get the Minnesota Timberwolves with Anthony Edwards going up against the old guard in Draymond Green. I should say Steph Curry first, and Steph Curry and Draymond Green. Think about that. Now, I know that the Timberwolves went on a little bit of a run last year where they got to the Western Conference Finals and everyone thought they were going to the NBA Finals before losing to the Dallas Mavericks, but that's just so fun when you get a player like Nikola Jokic, who's the best player in the league, and he's going up against this young team in the Oklahoma City Thunder, and we know how established Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is, but nationally, he's still looking for that big postseason moment. So you have those two Titans going up against one another, and then in the other part of the West bracket, you get the Minnesota Timberwolves with Anthony Edwards, who has already arrived, and I think he's the future face of the league, but you got to win a championship, and you got to get to an NBA Finals. And he's now going up against the Golden State Warriors, who have been an enormous player in NBA history for the last decade or so with their championships that they've won before Kevin Durant, during Kevin Durant, and then after Kevin Durant. So hats off to Golden State. They got the job done, and now all eyes are on the Houston Rockets, where it's going to be, okay, you have all these picks this offseason. Are you going to be able to get a Giannis Antetokounmpo? I know Milwaukee's going to say we're not making him available. Does Giannis Antetokounmpo force a trade? And if you can't get Giannis, we all know who Kevin Durant has a very close relationship with, and that's Ime Udoka, who is the head basketball coach of the Houston Rockets. So what a fun weekend of sports. Somehow I'm still up. We'll see if I'll be like another radio host that falls asleep on the air today. Who knows? I was thinking about wearing sunglasses today. I really was, but then I said, I don't want to look like a douche on the air. So we got a whole lot to get to today. We'll take your phone calls as well. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. When we come on back, we'll take a look at the Eastern Conference for the NBA postseason. This is Zach Gelb Show, off and running on a very tired Monday right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
Alrighty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. You have the Knicks up against the Celtics tonight. Also, Denver up against OKC. All game ones there. And then coming up tomorrow, the Indiana Pacers are up 1-0 up against the Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll see if the Cavs could tie up that series. The Cavs are dealing with a bunch of injuries. Jared Greenberger does a great job, NBA on TNT. He tweeted out, Kenny Atkinson expressed real concern for the availability of Evan Mobley and DeAndre Hunter for tomorrow's game 2. Mobley's dealing with an ankle, and Hunter is dealing with a dislocated shooting thumb. And I think Garland is going to come back. That was at least the vibe that Jared was given yesterday. But there are some injuries obviously piling up for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and now they're down 1-0 in this series. And then you get Golden State and Minnesota coming up tomorrow evening as well for game 1 after the Golden State Warriors were able to pull off the victory yesterday up against the Houston Rockets, where Golden State was up 3-1 in that series. Then they lost games 5 and 6 before walking into Houston and getting that victory in a game 7. Hey, Stu, just wondering, In the Western Conference, you have Denver and Oklahoma City. You have Golden State and Minnesota. Not who you think is going to get there, but who do you want to get there? If you could just create the matchup and say, that's the one I want to watch the most, what would you say that matchup is?
I would say for sure Oklahoma City. I just think it's their time. It's their time. I want to see the young team and what they can do and if they're ready for the moment. I would say probably the Warriors just because it's Steph and kind of like that maybe last run at something. So I think the old against the young would be kind of intriguing for me.
I think I would want to see Denver and Golden State, if I'm being honest, where you get Nikola Jokic going up against Steph Curry. Nikola Jokic, the best player in the league right now. Steph Curry, one of the best players of all time. But if, let's just say, I could give myself two matchups, and maybe this is just weird here. I would want to see Denver up against Golden State, established up against established, and like we said, Golden State potentially on their last runner at it or two. But if I can't get Denver and Golden State, like I wouldn't want one or the other. That's what I either want, Denver up against Golden State, or I'd rather just see the other two teams in Oklahoma City up against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Because then it's more new against new. Even though we had the Timberwolves go on a little bit of a run last year and got to the Western Conference Finals, there's still a long ways to go. But it's more so Nikola Jokic up against Steph Curry or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander up against Anthony Edwards. Because when it really looks at the future face of the league, I think there's two people in this NBA postseason that have the ability to go claim that throne for face of the league. Like Nikola Jokic, he's the best player in the league, but we don't really hear a lot from Nikola Jokic. Now, Jason Tatum, he doesn't have a great personality. But if you go winning back-to-back championships, and remember, he didn't win a Finals MVP last year. That was Jaylen Brown. And you get the Finals MVP this time around, you could then start to make your case for the face of the league. But I think most people right now, if you say who's going to be the face of the league in a few years from now in the NBA, they would say it's Ant-Man and Anthony Edwards. Those, to me, are the two guys that have a chance to really capture the face of the league kind of title in this postseason. And Stu, I wonder if you could throw Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in there. Because this is a guy that's, MVP, probably going to win the MVP this year. But he's a heck of a player. It's weird to say that he's underrated because everyone would view him right now as a top 5 player in the league. But nationally, I still feel like there's not that cachet around Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think you and I respect what he does. And I think most people know, he's a great player. But if I'm saying face of the league conversation, I think most people are going to say Anthony Edwards and not even consider Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, if you go through that next, face of the NBA, you're going to have Jokic, you're going to have Giannis, even though those two guys are already established. I think some people might even say Luka over him. Some people might say Anthony Edwards over him, like you said.
You have a lot of quiet, great players.
Yes.
Like Nikola Jokic is a great player, an all-time great. He's quiet in terms of personality. Same could be said for Jason Tatum, right? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, same thing. At least you see the Oklahoma City Thunder do those fun interviews together as a team. But it's not really a, look at me type of moment. And Anthony Edwards, he probably has not the best game, but the most explosive game with some of those thunderous dunks. But his personality is an A-type personality. Where when you look at it, Nikola Jokic, kind of a bore in terms of personality. Player, love watching him. Giannis Antetokounmpo, a really nice guy, but it's not like he has the greatest personality in the world. I did like when he ordered the 50-piece Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets after he won the NBA championship and dropped 50 points in that game. So there's a lot of guys in the NBA right now that are unbelievable players, and their play speaks for themselves, but the face of the league is a different thing. That's great player, great personality, and I don't know if Jason Tatum has that great personality. I don't think he does, but when you play in Boston and you get a big market like that, I do think you could work yourself into the face of the league. But right now, Stu, it does feel when Anthony Edwards gets to an NBA Finals or if he could win an NBA championship, that will be the take when it's already starting to be that way, where people are saying, he's the next face of the league. Where if you go back to I think it was the All-Star game, where he goes, I don't even want to be the face of the league. That's not something that I would want to be, but I don't know if he's going to have a choice, honestly, with how many quiet stars there are now in the NBA.
Yeah, he might not. And like you said, if he gets to the conference finals last year and then gets to a finals this year, forget it. He's going to it's going to be hard to not consider him that at that point.
Especially in a place like Minnesota, where you've had great players. Kevin Garnett growing up was one of my favorite players. He was unbelievable, won an MVP, but he was never winning squat there in Minnesota. He was never winning an NBA championship with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that's why he waited and waited and waited all those years, and he tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. But ultimately, when you get a team forming together of Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Kevin Garnett, you're going to find your way going to Boston. Look what that did for the career. Just in terms of, we always knew KG was a great player. For example, as a kid growing up in New York, a lot of people, remember those jersey bags that you would have? Where it was the drawstring bags and there would be a jersey on the bag. Carmelo Anthony was always popular. LeBron was always popular. And even before that, Kevin Garnett, I had a Carmelo Anthony jersey bag, which was 15 with the Nuggets. And then I had a 21 kg jersey bag with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Because I loved KG, the big ticket, growing up as a kid. And I'm not usually someone that gets players' gear if they're not on my team. Bizarrely enough, I had a Hornets Chris Paul jersey. I don't know why. I had a Michael Jordan old school Bulls jersey at the time. I guess I could say it's old school. And I had a Chad Ochocinco jersey. And then I had the jersey bags of KG and Carmelo, and I think that was it. Like some of my friends, they have a jersey for like every player on every team. But I wasn't a huge, if they're not one of my guys on my team getting that gear, but I just loved watching Kevin Garnett. And Anthony Edwards, right, in Minnesota, has done a heck of a job early on in his career. Now, getting back to the Eastern Conference, how concerned are you, Stu, with the Cleveland Cavaliers? Because I went into this series, I said Cleveland's going to win in 7, but I think the Pacers are going to be one tough out, and I think they're going to be one royal pain in the ass. And to be up big yesterday, then blow it and still find a way to win the game, and Cleveland now has, and we don't know the status of all these guys. We could read you the reports, but who knows in the NBA? You hear guys aren't going to play, then they do play, then guys are definitely going to play, and they don't play. But this is a Cavs team, once again, new coach, still doesn't matter. And I love Kenny Atkinson, but this team I feel like is always hurt in the postseason. And here you are once again with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the Pacers, remember last year too, they benefited off the Knicks being the walking wounded. But this is another go-around at it where, okay, we know Cleveland is the better team, but are they going to be healthy enough going up against a team in Indiana that is so disrespected? And Tyrese Halliburton, just tell his father to stay away, which I guess now they're doing it. They're not letting him go to any of these games. But Tyrese Halliburton is so underrated, even though people called him the most overrated player in the league. So where's the level of concern with the Cleveland Cavaliers after game 1?
Scale of 1 to 10, I'd say it's like a 7.5.
Oh, wow, that's high.
I think this is going to be, at the very least, a long series, and I think the Pacers could win it. I just think Halliburton's that good of a player, and you combine that with some of the injuries the Cavs have gotten, plus not having the playoff experience, I'd be a little concerned.
I would say I'm at a 4.5 level of concern. And I was talking with a buddy of mine yesterday. I'm like, I love Indiana, right? Like, I loved Indiana in game 1, and I said, this is going to be a tough series, tougher than what people think, but I would still lean Cleveland in 7. I would say 4.5. So, like 4.5 would be the level of concern. I'm not going to press the panic button unless they go down 0-2. You drop 2 games at home at Cleveland with all these injuries piling up, then that's a different level of conversation. Knicks and Celtics, game 1 tonight. Do you give the Knicks any chance to win this series, Stu?
I would like to give the Knicks a chance to win the series, but I just think the Celtics team is too good for them.
I think the Knicks, the 3 biggest players to watch in this series, the 3 biggest people. Like, I'm not going to say Jalen Brunson, because Brunson, to me, he's just a walking 30-point guy. In the postseason, this guy just walks out of bed. He could be like me. No sleep, actually. Taking a red eye back from Vegas, not going to bed, walking right to work, and he would still be able to show up and give you 30 points and look like it was nothing. Seriously. He's unbelievable. So I'm not going to say Brunson, but the 3 biggest people to watch in this series if the Knicks are going to win, Tom Thibodeau, and we all know that's a huge part of the conversation, and I think Tibbs will be back next year, but if they go out quickly to the Celtics, that conversation will pop back up. I'm then also going to say Mikal Bridges. Now, he started to come alive in that closeout game a little bit, but he's got to give them more offensively. He can't just be a stud defensively. But offensively, when you trade up 5 first-round picks for someone, you got to ball out and you got to be clutch. And then Karl Anthony Towns. I think Karl Anthony Towns at times is disrespected. I think he's a really good player. But even in Minnesota, he caught a lot of heat. There are some games, though, where Karl Anthony Towns, he is Superman. He really is. That game that the Knicks won in Detroit, I think it was game 3. It was either game 3 or game 4. And he was just making some shots at the end of the game where I was like, how the heck did he make those? And he was unbelievable. But then there's games where it's, he had 10 points. He looks a little lackadaisical. The energy level doesn't look that high. But those are the 3 biggest points of conversation for me. What is the coach going to do? Can Mikal Bridges give you more on the offensive end? And can Cat just be dominant? Because Jalen Brunson's getting his. If Cat could complement Jalen Brunson, you have the 2 of them working together, my oh my, that's going to be something special. I think it was game 4 where Cat had that craziness at the end with Jalen Brunson. But I'm going to say the Celtics win that series. I think the Celtics are the best team in the league. And if you tell me right now, who do you want to see in the NBA Finals? I know I just said how I started this segment. I would like to see Denver and Golden State, right, in the Western Conference Finals. But if you give me just an NBA Finals matchup, I would say probably Boston up against Oklahoma City. I think it would be so much fun. And I wouldn't be annoyed, honestly, if you look at the West, if you tell me Denver gets there, Oklahoma City gets there, Golden State gets there, Minnesota gets there, I'm fine with seeing any of those 4 teams in the NBA Finals. But you look at the Eastern Conference, even though I would personally like to see the Knicks win, but if I separate fandom and then my job as a talk show host and a national talk show host storylines, you give me Boston up against Golden State, love it. You give me Boston up against Minnesota, love it. You give me Boston up against Denver, love it. You give me Boston up against Oklahoma City, love it. The other 3 teams, I don't know where the national appeal is. I think Cleveland is tremendous. I love Kenny Atkinson. I don't know what the national appeal is of the Cleveland Cavaliers, even though they've been one of, if not the best teams in the NBA this year. The Indiana Pacers, I don't think there's national appeal. New York, there's national appeal because New York is polarizing. You either love New York or you hate New York. And we know that there's a lot of good names on the New York Knicks. But I think it's easy that in the East, Boston, you think will get there. In the West, I still think it's going to be OKC. And that would make a tremendous NBA Finals, Boston and OKC. But if you tell me OKC can't get there and Boston can, then any of the other 3 teams in the Western Conference, I'm more than good going up against the Boston Celtics. Golden State history with them meeting up in the NBA Finals a few years ago. Minnesota, you get Anthony Edwards going into Boston. That would be fun. And then Nikola Jokic, the best player in the league, going up against what I think is the best team in the league in the Boston Celtics. That'd be pretty damn cool. All righty, we'll take a time out. This is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll do a news brief on the other side. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with their easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. Michigan football coach Sharon Moore will miss 2 games next year in weeks 3 and 4, serving a school-imposed suspension for his part in the Connor Stallions scouting scandal. Moore was the offensive coordinator at the time and allegedly deleted text messages from Stallions. The Celtics opened their title defense with a rout of the Knicks, then added 3 more wins to sweep the regular season series. Now they meet in the playoffs with the defending champs still rolling. The Knicks coming off a hard-fought series with the Pistons, and Jalen Brunson said they now have to find a way to play at an even higher level.
Obviously play better than we did throughout the regular season. Be better, ready to go from the jump, and knowing that it's going to be a game of runs, knowing that they're capable of doing a lot of great things. They've got to keep our composure, sit together, and just making sure that we continue to play throughout the entire game.
The top-seeded Thunder host the Nuggets. Oklahoma City swept Memphis in the first round. Hasn't played in 9 days. Denver coming off a 7-game series victory over the Clippers. The Panthers and Maple Leafs open their second-round series tonight in Toronto in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and the NHL Draft Lottery will be held as well. I'm Rich Hacker.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Alrighty, it's time to Ask the Pros, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF SportsCenter at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. Be listening later in the show when we might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Let's go to Draymond Green, winning again in Houston come the NBA postseason. They were up 3-1 in that series, then lost games 5 and 6. But with the series on the line in Game 7, the Golden State Warriors make the Houston Rockets once again pay. Here is Draymond.
It's always fun winning in the city and winning in this arena. So Fred had made a comment earlier in the series, said this ain't that team. It's that organization, though. And we like coming to this city and playing in these situations. It's been good to us.
So we go from Draymond Green to Jimmy Butler. You know, I didn't even think about this yet, but you get the Warriors up against the Timberwolves. We know that Jimmy Butler, right, had that whole situation in Minnesota. But with Thibodeau no longer being there, with Cat no longer being there as well, is that really that big of a deal to me? Sure, I'm sure that the Minnesota fans will boo Jimmy Butler, but I don't think it has the same ammunition if some of the old faces were still there. But this is Jimmy Butler on his biggest concern about facing the Timberwolves.
Honestly, I got to like midnight to enjoy this win, so that's what I'm going to do. And then I'll focus on Minnesota come after midnight. But I'm worried about how I'm going to get my coffee machine to Minnesota and how I'm going to get my kids there.
His coffee machine? Does he have like some crazy luxurious coffee machine, Samter?
I don't know, but how hard is it to get your kids somewhere? There's things called an airplane.
And Jimmy Butler also has a minivan. He's a big minivan guy, he says.
Yeah, so like, I mean, buy a new coffee machine. You're worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's some history there because Jimmy Butler is one of the most interesting athletes I've ever covered. I remember when he got to Philadelphia, he said 2 things about me. I listened to country music, and he looked at me and goes, I bet you didn't expect that one. And also, I have a minivan. Bet you didn't expect that one either. I was not expecting Jimmy Butler to be a minivan guy and a country guy as well. Let's go to Buddy Hield. He had 33 points, had 9 3-pointers. That ties a Game 7 record. Buddy Hield on his hot night shooting.
Being in the zone is very spiritual. You know, it's just you and that rim and the net and the ball, and you just freaking it out. And sometimes you put anything up and it just goes in. But just being at peace with your game.
And obviously, it's easy to be at peace with your game if you play the way that he did in a Game 7. Let's go to Tyrese Halliburton. The Pacers, they did their job so far up against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Even if they drop Game 2, you will split the first 2 games. You'll take that in a second. Tyrese Halliburton on winning Game 1 up against the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, it gives us a lot of, momentum for sure. And you can definitely feel good about it, for the night. But this is the best team in our conference. They play very hard. They don't lose a ton, so they're going to respond. And so we got to be prepared for that going into Game 2. But I thought we did a great job of weathering the storm when, that Cavalanche was on its way. And thought we did a great job of weathering that. And, once that happened, I felt confident in our group. But I love the way we started the game. I loved our energy from start to finish. And, it's a really good win for us.
Yeah, you don't want to get too high off of one game. And also, I love the term Cavalanche. That's a great job. I don't know if that's something they've been saying with the Cavaliers all year, if that's just Tyrese Halliburton who ended up saying that. Let's go to Rob Gronkowski. He was on Dudes podcast with Julian Edelman. I think that's a podcast he does with Julian Edelman. So I'm going to ask a quick question before we play this audio. Are you one of those guys, Stu, when a player's jersey is retired, you freak out if a player wants to wear or requests to wear a retired jersey? Just wondering.
I wouldn't say I freak out, but I think if the number's retired, it should stay retired.
So he's off limits.
I would say so.
You think it's even a little rude maybe to even ask for it?
Yeah, the number's retired for a reason. It should stay retired.
Samter, do you care when a player says, Abdul Card, I want to wear LT's number, and LT says no? Does that annoy you? Or are you one of those guys that yells at the old guard and be like, it's disrespectful for LT not to give the number to Abdul Card. Who cares? It's just a number.
I'm more with Stu in the line of it should stay retired, but I think there's also a fine line. A guy like LT, an all-time great, probably the best defensive player ever, stay retired. Phil Simms, love him to death. That number can be unretired.
Well, I'm sorry, you can't. I don't think you could just pick and choose there. The number's either retired or not. Like it could be sacred to the franchise, and he may not be one of the all-time great players, but he's an all-time great New York Giant. Here's my take. If you want to ask, I don't care if you want to ask. But people then slamming a Lawrence Taylor for Phil Simms or his family for saying no, that's their right. The number's retired for a reason. So I don't really care either way. But I don't think there should be any vitriol for Abdul Carter asking or for Phil Simms or even Lawrence Taylor for saying no. But Rob Gronkowski, the Gronker, he went off on Abdul Carter for requesting LT's number.
Was he serious? Was he serious asking for LT's number? Yeah, you were a high draft pick, but LT is an absolute legend. The best to do it. One of the best defenders of all time. Like, you got to prove yourself. That's crazy just asking for LT's number. And I'm glad that LT shut him down like that.
What would Bill said to the kid if he asked for 56?
No, buddy. Yeah, there's one LT, and you're not LT. You're not even close to being LT. So how about you just get the out of my office and get in your playbook, because you haven't done yet. And now you get number 62 for just being an asshole.
Gronk, give me a call. We'll have you work in the Belichick impersonation. But the way that Bill would say it, not the sound of it, but just the material in there, spot on by Rob Gronkowski. Warren Moon on with Up and Adams with Kay Adams of what Shedeur Sanders needs to do now.
There's a whole different mindset when you play corner compared to playing quarterback. You can't act like a cornerback when you're playing quarterback. Quarterback's a humble position. You got to be respectful. You got to be a leader. You're the face of the franchise. There's so much more responsibility that comes along with it. That's what he has to understand.
Yeah, like I understand maybe the sideshow needs to be cut out a little bit, because now you are a 5th round pick, even though he's not what you would usually look at and view a 5th round pick of being. I like when a quarterback is confident. I like when he could be a little brash. But the problem is you can't have it impact your work ethic or your job. And for the pre-draft process, he basically did a terrible job in the pre-draft interviews. So learn from that. Still have that moxie. Still have that confidence. But put it into action on the football field. And Shedeur Sanders has done that for most of his life. That's why it was disappointing how he handled the pre-draft process. The Rich Eisen Show had on Jim Harbaugh, and Jim Harbaugh had a dream about Justin Herbert. Is that right? Go ahead.
Woke up the other day and said, got to get Justin Herbert to the Hall of Fame. Must get Justin Herbert to the Hall of Fame.
You woke up and said that?
Yeah. It's just one of those things where you wake up and kind of like 3:34 in the morning.
Right.
Sometimes that's when your best ideas come.
Yeah, I know.
And,
I'm with you.
Yeah, you kind of process that, and that would mean winning a couple Super Bowls, and it'd be a lot of people would benefit, from that. So that's a worthy goal.
I thought it was going to be crazier. I thought he was going to have some crazy dream about Justin Herbert or something, and there was going to be some big story there. How about you start with one Super Bowl? How about a playoff game? Can they win a playoff game first? And then before we start talking about Hall of Fame and all that stuff? I love Harbaugh, but come on. What are we doing right there? Let's go to the play-by-play. This was Paul Edmonds on the Jets Radio Network. Let's hear the way that the Jets tied this up. Remember, they were trailing 3-1. Game 7, series on the line. The President's Trophy winner. No President's Trophy winner has won the Stanley Cup since the Blackhawks last did it in 2013. Still a long ways to go. They got to get 12 more victories. But with that being said, you're down 3-1. You get a goal. I think it was 155, 156 left to make it 3-2. And then with 1.6 seconds left, the game ended up getting tied.
Velarde back in behind the net. Velarde back to the line. Ehlers moves in, shoots, and he fanned on that. Got it back again. Far side, quick shot, deflected in front. They score! Cole Perfetti with a deflection. 1.6 seconds left in the third period. The Jets have tied it up at 3. Holy smokes!
Oh, we got a holy smokes! Oh, they got a holy smokes in there. I didn't even know that. Holy smokes to the holy smokes. If you know, you know. Now, when this game did go to overtime, I go, the Jets are easily winning. But then when you got through one overtime, I go, uh-oh, maybe momentum is shifting towards the St. Louis Blues, and they'll find a way to, after blowing the game, do the improbable comeback from them originally choking. But in the second overtime, Adam Lowry called game. Once again, let's hear Paul Edmonds, the Jets Radio Network.
Lowry with the puck again. Back toward the line. Pion. Up top, Fleury. Winds up. Pass at the side of the net for Kyle Connor. Darts around. Connor back toward the line. Pion. Pion walks the line. Wristed through traffic. He scores! Deflected in front by the captain, Adam Lowry. Jets win! Jets win! Jets win! In double overtime tonight!
That's awesome. I love radio hockey. I do. Just hearing the calls and the guys on the radio just scream and go nuts. I know that they're out of it, but the Tampa Bay guy, he's a psycho. Michigan, he's awesome. Finally, let's hear Lowry columnist NBC Sports. Sovereignty wins the Kentucky Derby and won Zach Gelb some good money at 9-1.
Journalism and sovereignty, nose to nose, down to the last 16th of a mile. Sovereignty has taken the lead. Journalism is second toward the inside. Baez is third, but it will be sovereignty to rule the Kentucky Derby. The final time was 2:02.31 seconds.
So I wasn't going to bet the Kentucky Derby, but then I was in Vegas and I saw the scene in the sports book at the Cosmopolitan for BetMGM. And I go, I got to place money. My friend was at the Derby, and he said, Sovereignty, bet it. So I bet him outright, Sovereignty, and ended up winning 9-1. So it was a nice little payday walking out of that sports book, which was pretty cool, which is better the last time I was in Vegas, and I bet the Kentucky Derby. And at the time, we were CBS Sports Radio, and I had the long shot. This was back in 2019. I think the horse got disqualified, and then the other horse won. And our company at the time, CBS Sports, they uploaded the wrong post numbers, and I was looking at the website, and the horse that I wanted to bet on, it was a wrong post number. So that was a mess up from our company. That was the first time I ever placed money on a horse, and I thought I won a lot of money, and I didn't. So it was redemption in Las Vegas for your boy Zach Gelb with Sovereignty at 9-1. All righty, we'll take a timeout. When we come on back, we'll do a little onside, offside. It is a Zach Gelb show right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, hour number 2 of our radio program. That's right, it is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. We do this segment every Monday and Friday on the show. It's called Onside Offside. So let's get to it right now on a very busy Monday right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, Stupak, what do we got cooking today?
All right, Zach. So the Steelers, they are still waiting on Aaron Rodgers, but it turns out whoever the quarterback is in Pittsburgh will have 2 stars to throw to. According to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, George Pickens appears to be staying in Pittsburgh.
George Pickens, trade talks or any sort of buzz around that has cooled. There was a little bit of smoke out of the draft, but I was told that Pickens, in the end, wants to be in Pittsburgh. Sort of flirted with a trade request, but in the end, loves Mike Tomlin, wants to be a part of things. And from the Steelers' perspective, they want to keep all their arsenal intact because of the quarterback situation. They want to look attractive with the wide receivers.
So Onsides, Offsides, you're confident that Mike Tomlin will be able to get George Pickens in line?
I don't think it will get to a point where it could be like with other wide receivers because of Mike Tomlin. And right, look how many things that Mike Tomlin was able to keep in-house with Antonio Brown, and who knows what actually happened there. But judging by the way Antonio Brown acts, Mike Tomlin did a glorious job with him. And I don't think George Pickens is as detrimental as Antonio Brown. Now, he's not as good of a player as Antonio Brown was for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I think George Pickens is an ass, if I'm just being honest. I think he's a pain in the ass. I think the way he views himself is not accurately the way that he plays on the field. Right now, he shows times where he could be a number one, but there's more games where he's a number two. I would say he's an in-betweener guy, 1.5. And you just paid an enormous amount of money for DK Metcalf, and now there's a year left on his contract, and this is the final year of his contract. So do I think George Pickens is going to be the model citizen in Pittsburgh in terms of, in a football standpoint, not talking off the field, I'm talking on the field? Is he going to get jealous of DK Metcalf? Is there going to be games where Pittsburgh are winning and he doesn't have his best day and then he's freaking out? Absolutely. Because that's what he does. He's done it every time he's been in the NFL since he got there in 2022. He has been a distraction, and his moods just swing so crazily to where if you get the ball, all is good, you could be losing. But if you don't get the ball and your team's winning, then he turns out to be a pain in the ass. So do I think Mike Tomlin's going to be able to keep George Pickens in line where this will never be an issue? Even for a coach like Mike Tomlin, I'm going to say offside here because this is a George Pickens issue, not a Mike Tomlin issue.
Offside. Now, Fowler also did report that the Dolphins are still looking to trade Jalen Ramsey after a deal didn't materialize during the draft because of the money that Ramsey is owed. Fowler said, quote, LA Rams, it could be a reunion. They've been in the mix here. They are a team to watch, end of quote. Onsides, all sides, the Rams would be the best fit for Ramsey.
Now, he's not the same player as he once was. He's still a good player, but the familiarity there, I would say that, yeah, it would make him the best fit. And the Rams are pretty good up front. You look at that defense, it's really good. Could you maybe use an extra piece? I'd be fine if the Rams ended up getting Jalen Ramsey back. I don't know if I'm another contender, if I'm really dying to bring Jalen Ramsey in. But because they know one another, yeah, I do think that makes it the best fit for Ramsey and also a pretty damn good fit for the LA Rams as well. So I'll go on sides there.
Quinn Ewers was a 5-star recruit out of high school, and he took Texas to 2 playoff.
By the way, I know you have to read the question. I'm just going to preface it before you read the question. This is one of the dumbest storylines. I was going through onside, offside, and I read this. And not every day do I read the questions, but I read the question before I went on air today. I go, all right, let me just be extra prepared today because I'm operating on no sleep. When I read this one, I said, this could be one of the dumbest questions I've ever been asked. Now I sound like Calhoun at the podium all those years ago with UConn. But go ahead. Ask me this dumb question.
So Ewers took Texas to 2 playoff appearances as a starter. However, he was the last quarterback drafted going to the Dolphins in the 7th round. Now his agent, Ron Slavin, is calling out teams saying, quote, they thought he was too big of a name to be a clipboard holder.
Oh, my God.
Which I think is chicken bleep, end of quote.
I think that quote is chicken bleep, if I'm going to be honest.
Onsides, offsides, Ewers will be a distraction in Miami if he's the backup.
Too big of a name. Is he kidding me? For the last 2 years, and Quinn Ewers was a very good player. Big 12 champion. First year in the SEC. Takes Texas to the SEC championship game. He was wonderful for Texas. But what do we all sit here and do? Oh, when are we going to see Arch Manning full time? We want Arch. We want Arch. We want Arch. No one actually gave the proper due to Quinn Ewers. With that being said, I've said this now for the last 2 years. I think he's more of a college quarterback than a pro quarterback, and he's a backup in the NFL. And it's not like there's these sycophants. Like Quinn Ewers does not have a Tim Tebow following. Quinn Ewers does not have a Johnny Manziel following, for crying out loud. Tim Tebow doesn't have a Shedeur Sanders type following. It should be Quinn Ewers doesn't. It's like, what are we doing here? You're a backup quarterback. And I understand in Miami, right, if Tua gets hurt, I think Quinn Ewers could be competent. You got enough around him. I think he's a solid quarterback. But this idea that he's going to be a distraction in Miami, he's lucky to even get drafted. And I don't think he fell in the draft because teams are like, oh, he's too big of a distraction. A distraction of what? Guy's an awesome teammate. Guy's someone is easy to root for. And he really comes with no fanfare. Quinn Ewers, in terms of the national landscape in the NFL, is like a nothing burger right now. It's a big fat zero. No one's sitting there saying, outside of, who was the guy last week? Oh, I forget the quote. It was about Quinn Ewers. Oh, it was Des Bryant. Remember when Des Bryant's like, oh, he's going to be Dan Marino. He's going to be better than Dan Marino. Tua's job is on the only one saying that is Des Bryant. No one else actually thinks that. Quinn Ewers' own family doesn't think he's going to be the next Dan Marino. What the heck are we doing? Ewers will be a distraction in Miami if he's the backup. He should be the backup. That's what he is. A distraction like he's Tim Tebow or Shador Sanders or Johnny Manziel? Oh, my God, that doesn't fit any narrative. That agent, chicken bleep? You're chicken bleep. This quote is chicken bleep. Keep it moving. Offside.
Offside.
A distraction. Distraction. We're sitting here. We're talking about distractions? Huh? You kidding me? Distraction? What distraction? That's a big zero of a question. But continue. Go ahead.
After Lawrence Taylor declined to give Abdul Carter his number, Giants great and friend of the show Phil Simms agreed to unretire his number 11 so that Carter could wear his college number. However, apparently Simms' family stopped him and now say that he will not unretire the number. And Carter responded, quote, "Damn, at this point, I'm going to be out here. Just the last name, no jersey number."
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. This is starting to annoy me. I know I said I wasn't going to get annoyed last segment, but just pick a freaking number for crying out loud, Abdul Carter. That's not like revered in Giants, history.
It's got 99 choices. Onsides, offsides. You're okay with Simms changing his mind.
And two numbers are a problem, obviously, there. And you can't do 56, you can't do 11. I think this is more so knowing Phil, and I have not talked to Phil about this. I think Phil just said, who gives a crap? And then his family's like, Phil, keep your number. And he's like, all right, I'll just do whatever my family says. So I'm okay with Simms changing his mind. Yeah, I'm okay with it. Because the number's retired. So if he doesn't want to unretire it or his family doesn't want him to unretire it, you don't have to do it. So yeah, I'm okay with that. On sides.
Speaking of famous number 11s, Patriot star Julian Edelman won a fan vote and will become the 37th player to be inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame, beating out kicker Adam Vinatieri and offensive lineman Logan Mankins. Onsides, offsides, Edelman making the Hall of Fame before Vinatieri is inexcusable.
1,000%. I know Julian Edelman won a Super Bowl MVP. Julian Edelman is a fan favorite. And then Adam Vinatieri had an ugly ending with the Patriots. But Adam Vinatieri started the dynasty. Kicking the snow up against Stu's Raiders. Sorry, Stu. Super Bowl 36 game winner up against the Rams. Then you had Super Bowl 38, the game winner, up against the Carolina Panthers. And I know that game was 10 for a while, but then it ended up being a 3-point victory. It wasn't like the way that the first two were. But Vinatieri did have a kick that ended up being the difference. This, to me, any Patriot fan that has any resentment towards Vinatieri because how he ended and he went to the Colts, just stop. The franchise is where they are, and a big reason because of that was the clutch leg of Adam Vinatieri. And I love Edelman, but Vinatieri has to be in that Hall of Fame before Julian Edelman is. So Edelman, obviously, congratulations, he should be in. But the fact that Vinatieri isn't in, he needs to be in, and he needed to be in before Julian Edelman just because of the timing of it. So Edelman making the Hall of Fame before Vinatieri is inexcusable. I will go on sides on that. But recent history, right? Like, if you're a Patriot fan and you don't know much about Adam Vinatieri, just stop. All right? It's not like he's ancient either. I know he's an old guy, but it's not as if this was a kicker from the 1970s for crying out loud. We're talking about the early 2000s. So Edelman's more of a fan favorite, but I absolutely love Adam Vinatieri. He needs to be in the Patriot Hall of Fame.
The Packers are not giving up their push to ban, the tush push.
Oh, my God. Enough with them.
Yeah, so when owners meet at the end of the month, a new proposal will be considered that bans any players from pushing or pulling a teammate anywhere on the field. Onsides, offsides, players should be allowed to push or pull teammates.
Yeah, quit your bitching, Green Bay. Stop whining. All right? Onsides. I'm not even wasting another second of this show talking about the tush push and all this nonsense. Green Bay, stop your bitching. It's getting embarrassing. It's just flat out embarrassing right now.
The fallout from the Connor Stallion scandal is still ongoing, with Michigan reportedly suspending head coach Sharon Moore 2 games as a self-imposed punishment. Moore reportedly deleted 52 text messages with Stallions and could face more punishment from the NCAA. Onsides, offsides, the NCAA should add at least one more game to Moore's suspension.
You know what? I wouldn't. Here's why. I don't believe that Michigan should get punished here. When they put the ball down and everyone knew after the scandal happened, Michigan still beat everyone's ass and they still won a national championship. So I'm kind of done with this story, and I think this is an overblown story if I'm being honest. But if you're going to self-impose a punishment to the coach and you go, oh, we're going to do it after the Oklahoma game, and we're going to do it week 3 and 4 when they're playing, Central Michigan, and then they do play Nebraska, so it's one Big Ten game. Come on. You suspend the coach, it's got to be the first 2 games of the season. If you're going to give him a 2-game suspension, it can't be, we're going to implement it in weeks 3 and 4. What are we doing? So just because of that, that's why I should say the NCAA should step in. Not even the act. I have no problem with what transpired. I was a big-time defender of Michigan through that entire process and still am. But that's chicken bleep. It really is. Oh, we're going to suspend the coach 2 games, but it's going to be weeks 3 and 4, and we'll have him still on the sideline for the Oklahoma game in, week 2? That's chicken bleep. So the NCAA should add at least 1 more game to more suspension just because of how they're suspending him. Yes, on sides.
So Sovereignty outdueled 3-1 favorite Journalism to win the 101st Kentucky Derby on Saturday.
And by the way, I love Bendozo in the YouTube chat, but he said they beat everyone because they cheated, Zach. That scandal came out. Then Harbaugh was not there for Penn State, not there for Ohio State. They beat both those 2 schools, and then they went up against Alabama, put Nick Saban into retirement, and then beat Washington. So do a little homework there, Bendoza. They were not cheating then. And once again, this will age in favor like how Deflategate age. In 10 years from now, everyone will be like, what a bunch of chicken bleep that was. All right? This is the chicken bleep version of onside offside. Continue.
So Sovereignty outdueled a 3-1 favorite Journalism to win the Kentucky Derby on Saturday, pulling away at the end to take the first leg of the Triple Crown. Before American Pharoah completed the Triple Crown in 2015, we hadn't seen one since affirmed in 1978, but got a second winner in Justified just 3 years later in 2018. Onsides, offsides, the luster of the Triple Crown has worn off.
So, obviously, it was too long of a wait from Affirm to then American Pharoah in 2015. And then I did think that Justify winning 3 years later was then too quick. But now we haven't had one since 2018. And let's be real, there's only juice in horse racing when you have a Triple Crown potential winner. So, I don't think the luster of the Triple Crown has worn off because now we've had to wait a little bit since 2018. So, I'm going to go offside here on this one. And also, I did win money on Sovereignty at 9-1. So maybe if I lost, I would have then say, yeah, who gives a crap about horse racing? But that's not the case. Hey, by the way, this was a big bit that it was originally a Paul Nanos segment. And then DA and Marash, did what good radio hosts do. They recycle things. But the horse, Stu, do you think the horse knows that the horse is in a race?
I would say not a chance the horse knows.
I think the horse knows he's in a race just because I think they see the other horses racing and then they take over and they say, boom, I want to get, outrace the horse and get to the finish line. I do think the horse knows he's in the race. I don't think the horse understands the magnitude of the race, though. Like, for example, assuming Sovereignty races in the Preakness and the Belmont, and let's say it wins the Triple Crown. I don't think that horse knows that it's a Triple Crown winner. Now, when the horse then starts to get a little extra nookie time because of that, because then they try to just, do what they do in the horsing world to then breed more horses. Well, it's a family-friendly show. We don't need to get into the graphics and the details. We'll spare everyone that. Then I think the horse goes, I enjoy life a little bit more. Maybe I'm damn good at this racing thing. But I don't think the horse understands the magnitude of the race. I just think he knows he's in a race. And I'm more convinced of that than ever because Sovereignty looked like it was just no chance of winning. And then saw those other horses in front of him, and he was like, off to the races. Let's go win Zach Gelb some money. All right. So the luster of the Triple Crown has worn off. I'm going offside on that.
Offside.
Anyway, next one.
All right, last one here. Aaron Judge is on a historic pace this year, hitting an insane .423 with 11 home runs and 33 RBIs, and sits just 1 home run shy of the early Triple Crown lead. Now, over the weekend, Judge went 5 for 13 with a long ball, actually lowering his league-leading batting average. Onside, offside, do you believe that Judge can become the first 400 hitter since Ted Williams in 1941?
I'm going to say offside because you'll have like an off month. Even if you're still mashing, I don't think that it's attainable to get to 400. And you know what? I'm amazed by what Aaron Judge can do on a baseball field in the regular season. I'm not comparing him to Barry Bonds, but as a kid, I grew up loving watching Barry Bonds. And every time Judge is up it's not like Bonds, but in terms similar where you want to watch Aaron Judge bat, just like how you always wanted to watch Barry Bonds back, just because of how towering the home runs are. And Aaron Judge looks like a video game character. I don't want to say the season is pointless for Judge, but the regular season, even though there's not high expectations for the Yankees this year because they don't have Cole, they have a bunch of other injuries. Soto's now in New York. And the AL is just so vanilla as it is, where I don't think anyone believes whoever gets through the AL is going to find a way to beat the Dodgers there in the World Series, or the Mets, or whoever it may be. But since Judge just got to a World Series last year and then dropped the ball in that game that they ended up losing, and we know he's been a great regular season player, it's almost, yeah, this is awesome, but are you going to be able to win a championship because you're a Yankee? It's not like you're a Minnesota Twin. It's not like you're a Cleveland Guardian. If you, like, he's an all-time great, he will be an all-time great player. But there's a difference between an all-time great player and an all-time great Yankee. And what he's doing is unbelievable, but it's tough to be an all-time great Yankee with the franchise that holds those championships, 27 of them, if you can't find a way to win that championship. So that's a big part of it. So I believe that Judge can become the first 400 hitter since Ted Williams in 1941. I just think it's such a ridiculous thing to do. So I'm going to go offside on that one.
Offside.
All righty. We will take a time out here on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. When we come on back, ChatGPT acknowledges the Hickey Hex. And also, the Hickey Hex is alive and well. We'll get to more of Ryan Hot Take Hickey next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
Alrighty, back from Vegas. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Got to Vegas on Thursday, then Friday went to Tao. Then I actually went to a nightclub, saw Metro Boomin', and we had a bottle service at the table. And your boy was, as John Gruden would say, was feeling nicey, feeling like stew on a regular day. And then the next day I went to Piero's, and I had just a delicious meal there. Samter and I have been there before. And on Sunday, it was a lot of people left, right? A bachelor party, 18 people. There was 8 people left, and we had like this Sunday crew. And we weren't leaving until later that night, and we all took a red-eye home. Most people flew back to Philadelphia. One person flew to Denver, and then I flew back to New York. So we wanted to kind of just use Sunday as a recovery day, right? You know, gamble a little bit, get a nice lunch, and watch some sports too, and go to the sports book. So we had this reservation at this restaurant, this French restaurant called Bordeaux, which is, I think it's in the Aria in Vegas, and it's right across from Carbone in Las Vegas. So we go to Bordeaux, and it is a beautiful restaurant. I had poached deviled eggs with caviar. That was one of the appetizers we got. We also had a pastry basket. We got a huge baguette as well. And then for my main course, I ended up getting this burger, which was to die for. A really good burger. But anyway, I'll take you to the scene of being in this restaurant. Because this is the story, and I need you guys to issue a ruling here. Because I think my friends, we created something, and this is what people should use if they're ever in a restaurant and the table next to them being noisy, or someone's getting in a public fight in front of you at a restaurant. So 2 tables over, Stu, there is a grandfather who's turning 80, and he's in like this gold jumpsuit with the number 80 on the back, looking like a G. There's probably 25 people at his party, family members. In the middle of their meal, right in front of us. And remember, the 8 people remaining on this bachelor party, we're on a bachelor party. So we're hungover, right? We're probably still drinking a little bit during that day, probably by meaning we were. And you have a headache and you're just trying to enjoy yourself and you don't need any confrontation, right? So that table that was 2 tables over from us, that had like 20, 25 people celebrating someone's 80th birthday party. I don't know if they were still together or if they were divorced and this was the first time seeing them, but a man and a lady got up and right in front of our table, they're yelling. And she's giving him the riot act. Now, I didn't overhear exactly what they were saying because I was the spot at our table of 8 the farthest away from them, but they were so loud that everyone knew something was up. My one friend said he heard her say, well, you've cheated on me, allegedly, like 4 times. And then supposedly the guy said back, I don't even like your father and I'm still here. So that was all going on. And one of our friends, who is just like a silent killer when it comes to humor, you wouldn't expect him to be that funny, but when he says something and he doesn't say much, boom, joke's hilarious, joke is funny. He goes, imagine if we interrupted them and asked for a group photo. Because they are yelling in front of us, yelling, and had no end in sight. So we're all like dying of laughter because that's a great idea. Now, my friend Jordan, who's the bachelor on his bachelor party, he could be a prankster. He could stir the pot. And he looked to the left, looked to the right. He goes, excuse me, can you take a photo of us? Now, I think we helped this guy out, Stu, because it got him out of the fight.
Yeah.
They both looked at us like, what are you asking right now? Because they know we know what's going on. And they ended up taking a photo. It was a great photo. And she walked back to the table, and he walked back on the farthest end of the table, and that was that. But I think that should be a new thing in public. If you are enjoying yourself at a restaurant, and you have 2 rude other patrons at the same restaurant that are sitting in front of your table, standing in front of your table and yelling, just ask for a group photo. And it will diffuse the entire situation. But I could not believe that. When, that it was said, but then when my friend heard it, within probably 6 seconds, 8 seconds or less, we were taking a group photo.
I love it. I think it's great. I did not know where that was going. I could not imagine what would have been the diffuser. You could have given me 100 guesses. I wouldn't have guessed that, but I like it.
And then, so we were a little rowdy on the bachelor party, and I think the guy also that was taking the photo was maybe a little frazzled from what was going on, getting called out like that in public. And the guy was trying to take a good photo, and he said to one of my friends, you're kind of cut off in the photo. You may want to lean in more. And he was like, my friend said, just take the photo. And they started jawing back and forth a little bit. But I guess that guy felt bad. He came back over. He's like, was the photo good? Was everything like 45 minutes later? But that was the whole big situation there. And I think it's Samter, I couldn't believe that we asked this guy to take a photo, but it is brilliant if you look back on this.
I mean, listen, you should be a licensed therapist of some sort, maybe.
Oh, it's not me. I was just sitting there. Yeah. I wouldn't have the cojones to ask that person for a photo.
Listen,
it was like Jerry Springer. It was like Maury. They were like going at it, yelling right in front of us. And I'm sitting there saying, I'm just too hungover for this. Can they just shut the bleep up? That's what I was thinking to myself.
Listen, if you can send your friends over anytime the wife and I get into an argument, that'd be great. I'd love it. Let's do it.
Could you imagine? Samter calls me up. Zach, Susan and I are going through it right now. Can you send your friend Jordan over to ask to take a photo? Just bring the guys over from the bachelor party. You could stand on our lawn. We'll take a photo of you to get me out of this sticky situation. All righty. By the way, I was not really monitoring Twitter the last few days, more so Instagram. I did scroll on Twitter for a second, and some guy was just like going after me, and I just sent him a view of the balcony that we were on with the beautiful view of Las Vegas, and I was like, hey, Zach Gelb's busy right now. I don't have time to respond to a clown like you. But I did see a text from Samter, and this was about social media, and I guess this was on Thursday or maybe Wednesday night. So Samter's texting me on vacation, I think something serious. And Samter, to his credit, goes, don't want to annoy you on vacation. And whenever I see something like that, I go, what's the problem? But he goes, you'll find it hilarious. So Psych Mamter, I guess, who's a loyal listener to this show and is very active on YouTube and Twitter, he was using ChatGPT. And he searched, what is the hickey hex from the Zach Gelb show? ChatGPT recognizes the hickey hex. I'm reading this right now. The hickey hex is a running joke on the Zach Gelb show, referring to the humorous curse that seems to follow when co-host, come on, ChatGPT, clean it up a little bit. When co-host Ryan Hot Take Hickey makes bold predictions about sports teams or players, often shortly after Hickey confidently backs a team or athlete, they experience unexpected setbacks or losses. This pattern has led to the lighthearted notion that Hickey's endorsements are jinxes. First off, ChatGPT, this is not lighthearted. I'm being dead serious with this stuff. For instance, Zach Gelb once tweeted about the Hickey Hex in relation to quarterback Sam Darnold, suggesting that Darnold's performance declined after Hickey's support. Similarly, when Hickey predicted a decisive victory for Penn State over Notre Dame, the outcome didn't align. It continues. For the Hickey Hex has become a beloved segment among listeners, with Zach Gelb often teasing about his predictions after their unintended consequences, all in good fun, adding a playful dynamic to the show, sports commentary. And then it also did give this, this is my favorite one. So it once again says the Hickey Hex is a humorous concept from the Zach Gelb show, referring to the idea that when producer, now they call him a producer, Ryan Hot Take Hickey expressed strong support for a sports team or player, that entity is doomed to underperform or fail. The tongue-in-cheek superstition has become a running joke among the show's host and guests. The term gained popularity. This is the origins of the Hickey Hex. During the 2023 NFL season, when Hickey confidently predicted that the Broncos would reach the Super Bowl and quarterback Russell Wilson would be named Super Bowl MVP. However, the Broncos season quickly unraveled, leading to the widespread belief that Hickey's endorsements were jinxing teams. How about Samter? How extensive the Hickey Hex is recognized on ChatGPT. That's wild to me.
You know, I've asked around to a variety of people, and there's been the curse of the Babe. There's been the Billy Goat curse for the Cubs. No. I think the Hickey Hex has become the most famous, well-known, infamous hex out there.
And I'm not going to tell people how to bet, and you need to gamble responsibly, to be clear. But if you see Hickey just be so confident in a certain team, you need to fade them and bet responsibly. But if you fade Hickey, you'll be a winner. So with that being said, I got a lot of tweets that I ended up catching up on Sunday, and I wasn't planning on doing this, but people ask, right? And we got to deliver. I think this is just my charity act to start off the week. This is me just being nice to our listening audience. Hickey was on yesterday. We'll give him a plug. We'll give him a pop. He's now doing Sundays from 2 to 6 p.m. Eastern. And I guess leading up to the Warriors-Rockets game, Hickey was not only picking the Rockets, but he was dangerously confident that the Houston Rockets are going to find the way to beat the Golden State Warriors in Game 7. We have another installment of the Hickey Hex.
It's the Hickey Hex.
It's Steph, it's Jimmy Butler, and then who else? Like, if we're talking about Draymond Green or Buddy Hield being your third option in a Game 7 on the road, that scares the hell out of me. I think the Warriors are toast. I think they are done.
Buddy Hield knocks down another triple. Buddy Hield is on fire here in Houston. Buddy Hield, it's all white light for him right now. He's got a 19-point half. My goodness. Buddy Hield, he is just not missing.
For Steph Curry, right, this is a guy whose numbers right now are telling you, whether it's the thumb, whether it's being age 37 and his legs getting tired, he's running out of steam, he's running out of gas. And I don't think all of a sudden now you can just rev that engine up and turn back the clock here in Game 7 in Houston.
Curry on the logo. Comes left, crossover dribble, crossover again, step back, takes a three under duress. It's good! It's good! Curry nails it. And it's 91-74. The Warriors have their largest lead of the game right now.
This team doesn't have it. I don't think they can flip the switch. I think a younger, faster, bigger, but also more inexperienced Rockets team takes down the Warriors, wins Game 7 at home, and thus makes history by becoming just the 14th team in NBA postseason history to overcome a 3-1 deficit and win the series.
Steve Kerr is moving on once again from the play-in to the playoffs, and into the second round go the Golden State Warriors. A hard-fought 7 games, but the Warriors, with all that championship pedigree, go on the road and beat the Rockets. The Warriors are moving on.
I think the Warriors are toast. I think they are done. I think the Warriors are toast. I think they are done. I think the Warriors are toast. I think they are done. I think the Warriors are toast. I think they are done.
Hot Take Hickey strikes again.
It's actually impressive how confident he could be and how he's always wrong. May 2nd, he tweeted out, "The Warriors are cooked if you didn't hear it during the Hickey Hex. Even though they are slower and smaller, I thought their experience would get them over the hump against the inexperienced Rockets. Forget that. They're gas. And you know who uses his source? Richard Jefferson, saying multiple times he doesn't see any energy for Golden State Warriors, says it's all. Good night. This series is over. And this is what I don't get. Hickey's one of those guys that it's either all or nothing. Like, for example, he will say a team has a 0% chance to win a game. That's impossible. You tell me there's a 0% chance to win a game. It is inconceivable that the other team could find a way to win. We're talking about the Golden State Warriors with Steph freaking Curry. And he basically said Steph Curry was shot. Steph Curry had 14 points in the fourth quarter. And also, he directly mentions Buddy Hield. Oh, if he's got to be your third option, you're screwed. Buddy Hield goes on to score 33 points and ties a Game 7 record. A Game 7 record for 9 3-pointers made. It's not only Hickey is wrong, where, okay, one team's going to win, one team's going to lose, and he always picks the wrong team to win. And whoever he picks to win, they always end up losing. It's how confident he is, and then the scenarios that he lays it out, and Steph goes off in the fourth. Buddy Hield goes off in the game. It's mind-blowing here, Stu. It really is. It's getting embarrassing for Hickey, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think I need to put in my Ashton-Genti Offensive Rookie of the Year bet very soon after Hickey's dislike for that pick.
I also heard Hickey was saying when St. Louis was up 3-1 up against the Winnipeg Jets, there's a 0% chance the Jets come back as well. Samter, I know that you have been amused by the Hickey Hex, and you were not aware of the Hickey Hex powers, but you've now seen working with me for the last 2 years. Jeez Louise, this is a real thing.
The funny thing for me, and I said this to Hickey today as he was here this morning as opposed to this afternoon in his new role, which was fantastic. Great for Ryan Hickey. As soon as I walked in, I see Hickey, and I'm like, oh, man, Hickey. It's not that he gets predictions wrong, per se, because we all do.
Yeah, of course.
It's how adamant he is about these things. He swings big. It's not like, hey, I think the Rockets are going to win Game 7. It's the Warriors have no chance. Steph Curry has no energy left, and Buddy Hield is a loser. And all of the things that he says is like the exact opposite. He even said, I expect the NCAA to go for blood and hand out heavier suspensions for Sharon Moore and the Wolverines. Now I know Sharon Moore's not getting anything else from NCAA. Everything he says, he goes big or goes home, and he's wrong so often that when he goes big, he misses really, really big.
Who's the worst big game performer? James Harden or Ryan Hot Take Hickey?
Not even close.
And James Harden is putrid, but I think I know your answer, Sam. I think you're saying Hickey. James Harden can't hit water if he fell out of a boat in a big spot. And still, I think James Harden's a bigger big game performer than Hickey. That's how bad Hickey is with these predictions.
If Ryan Hickey fell out of the boat, the water would just disappear.
It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll talk about Gregg Popovich on the other side. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, the Celtics opened their title defense with a rout of the Knicks, then added 3 more wins to sweep the regular season series. Now they meet in the playoffs with the defending champs still rolling, while the Knicks are coming off a hard-fought series with the Pistons, and Jalen Brunson said they're going to have to find a way to play at an even higher level this time around. The top-seeded Thunder will host the Nuggets. Oklahoma City swept Memphis in the first round. Hasn't played in 9 days. Denver coming off a 7-game series victory over the Los Angeles Clippers. Sharon Moore of Michigan will miss 2 games this season in weeks 3 and 4. The suspension is part of a self-imposed sanction by the University of Michigan after allegations that he deleted text messages with Connor Stallions in the advanced scouting scandal. Moore at the time was the Wolverines' offensive coordinator. 1 game in the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. The Maple Leafs host the defending champion Florida Panthers Game 1 of their second-round series. The NHL Draft Lottery will also be held tonight, with the San Jose Sharks having the best chance at the number 1 pick, and the LA Kings have fired general manager Rob Blake. I'm Rich Acker.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
Obviously, it's no surprise that Gregg Popovich will no longer be coaching the San Antonio Spurs after some unfortunate health issues this year, and he has been coaching for much of this season after suffering a stroke. And you had Mitch Johnson as the interim coach. Now Pop is going to move over and become the team president. He will not be coaching again. R.C. Buford is still going to be the CEO, and Brian Wright will still be the general manager. Pop, or now he's going by El Jefe from this press conference today, will be the team president. And we wish, obviously, Gregg Popovich nothing but the best in recovery. It's time for him to no longer be the coach. I will say, though, I don't know how much I love Mitch Johnson, though, being the next head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. Now, to be fair, I saw him once coach in person up against the Cavs. They lost by a point at the end of the game where they were down for most of the game. I didn't really think he had this incredible presence, but that's a tough spot to walk into with how much that Pop is loved in San Antonio, and you're a longtime assistant of Pop, and now you're taking over for him, and you don't know about the future where everyone knew that Pop wasn't coming back, but then it's, okay, when is that going to become public? That job, though, in San Antonio, and I say this about when Coach K retired, when Roy Williams retired, when Jay Wright walked away, don't just appoint your guy just to appoint your guy. I think you should go through a full process. And I look at the San Antonio Spurs situation. It ended up now being that this guy, Mitch Johnson's getting the job. That's a heck of a team. If Wemby's back healthy, you have Wemby, you have De'Aaron Fox, and you got Castle, who's a stud. And maybe you could trade Castle, or maybe they trade, I don't know. Like, you got KD available this offseason potentially. I don't think you need to do that if you're San Antonio, but it's going to be considered. You also potentially have Giannis Antetokounmpo available. I thought there would have been a name that would have taken over San Antonio that would have elicited more of a reaction out of me. Like, oh, yeah, that's a good hire. With Mitch Johnson, like, oh, it could work, but, you know, I'm not jumping up and down like a fat kid in a candy store over this hire. And when I was in San Antonio for the Final Four, I had multiple people come up to me. And multiple people were pushing this idea, and I thought it was going to happen, that Becky Hammon was going to replace Pop. That multiple people kept on coming up to me saying, watch Becky Hammon get the job. Watch Becky Hammon get the job. That's what I said on the show. I got on the show and I said, that's my prediction. Becky Hammon will be the next coach of the Spurs, because unsolicited in San Antonio, people walking up to me saying, hey, Becky Hammon's going to replace Pop. Pop's not going to coach again. So when you have a job with a team that's that young and that good, I'm not saying Mitch can't be successful, to be clear, but I thought it would have been either a more compelling hire, like something that's ever been done before, like Becky Hammon, or it would have been a bigger name taking over. So this is still R.C. Buford and Pop running the show. I don't know how effective Pop's going to be, if we're just being honest. But Mitch Johnson's the first guy up, and we'll see if he will go the way of Kyle Neptune and Hubert Davis, right? In college, or will he be more like John Shire, which, let's be real, John Shire, it was going also right until the Final Four. They blew the final, 45 seconds up against Houston. Let's hear from Pop, though, because he did speak today, and this is the first time we heard him speak publicly since suffering a stroke. Here is Gregg Popovich on his retirement.
I can never express the gratitude that I have for so many people caring about our organization and sending me thoughts, prayers, that sort of thing. Since I had this stroke, things are getting better by the day, but it's not good enough for what we plan ahead, and so it's time to make this change. We all have a part in this. It's not just the players and the coaches. Everybody has been dedicated to do their part to make a successful, thriving organization, and we will continue to do our best to do this with class. It's one of the reasons why Mitch Johnson will be taking over, because we have total faith in him to continue what's been started a long time ago.
So there you go. That's Gregg Popovich. Obviously, not that he's ever really loud, but you could tell clearly still going through a lot of recovery, as one would expect after suffering a stroke. And we read the TMZ article as well, where he may have suffered another stroke too, a minor one. So clearly wish him nothing but the best, and his health should be first and foremost. And I thought it was time anyway for Pop to step aside. The last few years, I kind of said, all right, it's time for a new voice as a head coach. But with how much he's beloved there in San Antonio, you knew he wasn't going to walk away until he said, okay, I'm walking away. And now he's going to be in this new role of team president, and he will no longer be coaching the team. Here is Pop on his new role as team president of the San Antonio Spurs.
We've got some young players who are going to end up being really great players. And Mitch Johnson will be the guy that forges their futures. And I'll do everything I can to help him and help them. But I'll have a new job, and I want to make sure everybody understands what the new job is. I'm no longer a coach. I'm El Jefe.
And he had the shirt that said El Jefe, where he did take off the jacket he was wearing. But 5 championships as the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. One of the most impressive coaches we've ever seen, not only in basketball, but in the history of sports. If you think about what he was able to do there, and sure, he had the Admiral, sure, he had Tim Duncan. Those were 2 all-time great players. But he also won championships with Tony Parker, with Manu Ginobili. Obviously, you know what Kawhi Leonard's done. But it wasn't as if they had one of these teams where it was like 3 guys that were absolute rock stars year in and year out. Now, we all know that it worked together, and chemistry plays a big role. And Manu, right, and Tony Parker are loved. And Kawhi kind of, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but who was thinking he'd win the Finals MVP when he did so? It was so cool what they were able to do. And now it's time for a new era with one of the more exciting players in the league in Wemby. And we wish him nothing but the best, just like how we wish Pop nothing but the best. And you also got De'Aaron Fox, and you got Castle there, and we'll see if they add anyone this offseason. So it's time for Pop to step aside, and he'll be going from coach to team president. And most importantly, we hope that he gets back to being the Gregg Popovich that we all know and love for so many years, because, you know, the health is obviously the biggest thing, because if you don't got your health, then you got nothing.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
All righty, hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Since I was out on Thursday and Friday, I didn't get a chance to mourn and talk about the Los Angeles Lakers season coming to an end. And let's have a moment of silence. Please, Stu, fade down the music. Show some respect to your Los Angeles Lakers as we'll have a moment of silence for their season. And we thank you. I think there's a lot of stupid takes that come out of this. Anyone saying, this was a win for Nico Harrison. Maybe the Dallas Mavericks knew what we didn't know. No, sorry. I don't put any stock into what happened in the postseason in terms of now there's vindication for Nico Harrison. He still made a stupid trade. You don't trade a top 5 player in the league at his age, even though he needs to get in better shape and play some more defense, for basically an older Anthony Davis who is always injured, and you got 1 first-round pick back. All right? Like, we're in the NBA where Mikal Bridges went for 5 first-round picks. But the Minnesota Timberwolves, they set the tone early in this series. The Lakers got 1 game, and that was it. And the Lakers did quickly enter the postseason, and then they did quickly go home, losing in 5 games. Stu, what was your thoughts when you look back at this Lakers season and the future of the Los Angeles Lakers? Because I got a few things to say about LeBron. And I'm not usually anti-LeBron. I'm not. I liked LeBron when I was younger. But the more and more you hear from LeBron the last few years, he does come off as a phony. And I'll explain more coming up in just a bit. And there's a lot of excuses whenever things don't go LeBron James's way. And there's just a pattern after it. But when you look back at this Lakers season, how do you now reflect having a few days to really grieve and mourn the loss of your Los Angeles Lakers, who are now donezo, going home in 5 games to Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves, who embarrassed your organization?
I would say disappointing. I didn't think they were going to win a championship. I thought they could make a little bit of a run, but there are obviously a lot of holes in this team after the trade. As good as Luka is and as good as LeBron still is, they lack pretty much any presence inside. They lack any depth on the bench, so they need to make a few moves, at least 2 or 3 moves this offseason if they want to have a chance at winning one with LeBron or Luka. And then if not, it's not the case, then it's probably going to be a little bit, and they're probably going to have to build with just Luka and then whoever else they can recruit in.
Now, I remember when LeBron was in Cleveland, and I was doing overnights here on the weekends. And Ben Horowitz, remember Ben, obviously? Of course you do.
Of course.
And Samter as well. He was going off, and I'll give Ben credit. He pointed out some of the excuses that comes with injuries whenever LeBron loses in the postseason. I remember he went to that podium with the ace bandage or something wrapped around his hand.
I remember
and I go,
that,
Ben,
yes.
if the guy's legitimately hurt, like, well, what's the big deal? He goes, no, it happens all the time. Anytime this guy loses, he makes an injury excuse. And I was yelling at Ben, and Ben was yelling back at me. Now, I'll say this. I think Ben ended up being right. And he realized that LeBron could be a little bit of a phony a few years before I did. But Chris Sheridan, that former NBA reporter, I think his name's Chris Sheridan. Sheridan Hoops, I believe, he was listening, and he tweeted out, I was listening to Dumb and Dumber on the radio, and he didn't even listen correctly because I was defending LeBron. So then I called Chris up the next day and had him on the show, and I went after him. I go, don't call me Dumb and Dumber, call my producer dumb. I wasn't the one that was saying these things that you're accusing me, and then you're blasting me on social media. And when we first called him, he goes, oh, I'm at, a child's birthday party. I'm like, all right, can you do it or not? He goes, oh, yeah, I could step away for a little bit. And we cooked him. It was 20 minutes. It was embarrassing. We had affiliates calling out. They were like, stop the fight. It's too much. We're throwing in the towel for Chris because he did not have a good fight up against me in that one. And like, hey, if you disagree with my opinion, it's fine. But if you're going to disagree, actually go after me for an opinion that I have. Not something I didn't have an opinion. But anyway, we'll get back to the LeBron injury news in just a second because that's not even what really annoyed me, Stu. There's one point in the reporting that annoyed me, but where I thought LeBron was a phony was he was getting asked about the lack of size of the Los Angeles Lakers, and this guy who calls all the shots for the organization. All right? Come on, LeBron, can you stop with this act that LeBron and KD both do? Where they know they have so much power and both of them actually have the audacity to basically think that if they recommend something publicly, that could impact them in a negative fashion, and all of a sudden we would actually think, oh, that they're not actually running the shows for whatever organization they're in. But Stu, I was incredulous when I saw that video late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning. Because, right, they lost on Wednesday night, and then I was watching some of the post-game early Thursday morning, catching it up when I was in the airport delayed. And LeBron had the audacity to say, oh, well, hey, AD was here. He recommended something, and then he was gone the following week. Yeah, LeBron, that's what the Lakers are going to do. The Los Angeles Lakers, you're that organization by the cojones, right? You have them by the balls. You're going to recommend something, and you think that's why they're going to get rid of you? Stu, you're fair as a sports fan. You're not like some other people around here that will pick their team to win every single time their team is in a big game. You have the appropriate level of being a fan, but also being extremely critical and just giving us your true, honest thoughts. LeBron James, after they lose to the Timberwolves, pulling that AD line.
Yeah.
That's what, like, LeBron the last 5 years, I think has been so phony. He's the second greatest player of all time. He's unbelievable, right? He's the greatest player to play basketball, not named Michael Jordan. His career is marvelous. His career is unbelievable, right? I could sit here and talk about LeBron in a positive way, but the last few years, some of the stuff he says, and I thought, right, his worst moment in the history of his career was losing to the Mavericks in that NBA Finals and then basically telling all the fans, oh, they have to go back to living their terrible life and he'll be okay, right? That was insufferable. But as a younger LeBron, okay. But for him to sit up there and basically think that we're this stupid, right, and insult our intelligence, oh, I can't answer your question because the last guy that answered a question with his true thoughts got traded. What a bunch of chicken bleep. And righty, just baloney that is. That you had to be annoyed as a Laker fan when he sits up there and you're like, all right, stop this act.
Yeah, definitely. It comes off very loser energy. And look, if there's one thing that ticks me off about this like era, this like LeBron Lakers tenure, like it's fine. Like they won a championship, that's great. And
it's successful. The LeBron era in Los Angeles,
of course.
People go, oh, it's a disaster every time he loses. He won a championship. People didn't think LeBron was going to win a championship in LA. So it is successful.
Yeah, and that's great, but there's always just woe is me, this excuse after excuse. You know, blame Pelinka, blame whichever ex-coach.
Luke
now you've
Walton.
got your coach, and guess you can't blame him because, you know, his best buddy Redick is coaching now.
Who, by the way,
hey,
I'm going to be petty here. I like Angel in the YouTube chat, but in the regular season, when Angel's in the YouTube chat saying, Zach Gelb, are you going to apologize about your J.J. Redick take? Oh, Stu, this dude was a brainiac in this series. He was unbelievable. And guess what J.J. Redick did? When things started not to go his way, and a little criticism. Oh, J.J., you played all your starters in the fourth quarter, the whole second half. You didn't give them any rest. Little criticism. What does J.J. Redick do? He cried like a baby. Wah! I got to storm off the podium. Wah! Shut up, J.J. You insufferable douche. Oh, that guy is such a prick. I'm sorry. He is so obnoxious. But, during the regular season, we all have to sit here and give J.J. Redick a big round of applause. How about how he did it in the postseason? Him and LeBron, they were spectacular. Let me tell you that. Oh, my God. So, you know what, Angel? I want you to apologize to me now. Because guess what? I was right on J.J. Redick. When things don't go J.J. Redick's way, he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, and he acts like a big bully and a big doofus and a big loser and a big jerk. All right? Enough with J.J. Redick. That dude takes a number 2. He thinks it smells wonderful. I think his bleep stinks. Let's be honest. Enough with J.J. Redick. Oh, how dare you ask me that question? He stinks. He's insufferable. But, LeBron and J.J. Redick, when something doesn't go their way, Stu, there are 6-year-olds that behave better when they're told they can have a brownie after dessert or after dinner or something like that. Oh my goodness gracious, the two of them. But thank you for bringing up getting his coach, because I almost forgot about the way that J.J. Redick acted in this series. Oh man, hate to see it. Let me tell you, I hate to see J.J. Redick getting exposed for the fraud that he is. And then you get Jay Will too, carrying his water. Oh my! Some of the Duke players could be just insufferable. And I'm not anti-Duke, but Jay Williams coming to the defense of J.J. Redick. Oh, stop it! You're embarrassing yourself. What are you gonna claim that you got hacked again, Jay Williams? Oh my God! But LeBron, that did annoy me. Absolutely, I'll fully admit it. Oh yeah, AD said he was, said the truth and he got traded. So I'm not gonna answer that. Stop. There's always an excuse. Always an excuse. Imagine if Magic Johnson, if they would have lost that NBA final. I had to play the 5. It didn't work out. It's terrible. I won't give my honest opinion. Stop. Now, how about the injury part? Like, if you're hurt, you're hurt. But I've never seen someone get hurt, Stu. And when there's not a game on the horizon because you're eliminated and you're not playing till next season, and it's not a major injury, we're talking about a grade 2 MCL sprain, they put a recovery timeline out there. 3 to 5 weeks. And then it was, if there was a game 6, he would not have been available. Stu, if there was a game 6, would LeBron James have been playing?
Yes, he would have played, because of Redick, he probably would have played 48 minutes. Yeah. But he would have played like 40 minutes, yes.
He probably would have played 48 minutes. Oh, my God. He absolutely would have played. And now, did you see the commitment to the bit? You see where LeBron's
he's not going to the Met Gala now because he has to recover from that knee injury. Yep.
You know what? Do we have the breaking news sounder? Find me my breaking news sounder. I need my breaking news sounder, even though Stu just gave us the breaking news. But whenever you have it, just fire it. Even though I'm talking, just tell me.
We have breaking news on the Zach Gelb Show.
Even though it happened 4 hours ago, LeBron James on his social media account, unfortunately because of my knee injury I sustained at the end of the season, I won't be able to attend the Met Gala in New York tonight, as so many people have been asking and congratulating me on. Hate to miss an historical event. My beautiful, powerful queen will be there holding the castle down, as she always has done. Now, I'm not going to be bougie enough that I know what's happening with LeBron at this Met Gala, but I had the knee injury. I really know that the knee injury is not that big of a deal. I would have played Game 6, but I'll put the report out there that I wouldn't have been playing Game 6, and now I'm not going to the Met Gala. Oh, my God. I'll take this a step further, and I said this last year, and I got pushback from this. Steph Curry's not a better basketball player than LeBron James. But if you ask me, whose career would you rather have? I'd rather be Steph Curry. Now, I understand LeBron James is the second greatest player of all time. LeBron James is a better basketball player than Steph Curry. But Steph Curry is the single greatest three-point shooter we've ever seen, and he's so likable. What's the biggest thing we've ever critiqued Steph Curry for? That one time he threw the mouth guard into the stand?
Unforgivable.
Stop. LeBron James, though, whether it was how he handled the loss to the Mavericks in the final, anytime he loses, right, there's an injury, or he's going to sit up there and act like he doesn't have clout in this organization. Oh, yeah, AD, he spoke his mind. He got traded, so I can't say what we need. Oh, give me a break, LeBron. And I look at Steph, right? He had that championship before KD got there. Then the 2 championships with Kevin Durant was there, were watered down. Then he got a championship where he won a Finals MVP post Kevin Durant. And you look at LeBron, his greatest championship, without a doubt, was Cleveland. Unbelievable moment, down 3-1. It was sensational up against the Warriors. It was spectacular. One of the greatest sports comebacks I've ever seen. The 2 championships in Miami, don't really care for them. The one in LA, it was cool. Don't get me wrong. I know it was in the bubble. I'm not someone that says, oh, it's a Mickey Mouse championship. But if Steph Curry can get another championship, and I don't think that's going to happen this year, to be clear. And I know LeBron has more MVPs, right? LeBron James is considered the better basketball player. But I would rather be Steph Curry. Because Steph Curry has been in the spotlight 20-something years. We know LeBron has been in the spotlight since high school. What is there to dislike Steph Curry about? Steph Curry seems like a real good, genuine dude. Down-to-earth guy. And LeBron, he never holds himself accountable. I know there's not a lot to critique about him, but there's always excuses when things don't go his way. And it seems like the excuses are so unnecessary. That line about Anthony Davis was just absolutely, and I mean absolutely positively just ridiculous. And it was so phony. It really was. So I would rather be Steph Curry. That's not me saying Steph Curry's a greater basketball player. But if you ask me, Zach, whose career would you rather have? Who would you rather be? Even though LeBron has more accomplishments, I'd rather be Steph Curry. Who would you rather be, Samter? LeBron, or would you rather be Steph Curry?
LeBron. LeBron is worth $1.2 billion. I love Steph, but he's got $240 million. I'll take the billion.
Does it really matter when you're that rich? Does it?
You know what? There's rich and then there's billionaire rich. So, yes, there is a difference.
Steph is rich.
Yeah, he's fine. No complaints.
He's not going to be, begging for change anytime soon, all right? He'll be able to live and then some, and then some, and then some, and then some, and then some.
Listen, whether or not people like me does not impact which one I would rather be, right? Like, people don't like LeBron. I get it. But you know what, though? LeBron has a lot more opportunities that Steph probably doesn't have. He's a billionaire, and he's going to be a multi-billionaire by the time it's all said and done. At the end of the day, and he's got a son in the NBA, whether you like it or not. He's got another son who's probably going to be in the NBA, or at least be close to it. I'd rather be LeBron.
But that, to me, has nothing to do with the conversation. Who cares about what his kids do, honestly, right now? Like, the Bronny stuff, I'm sick of that conversation as well. And that's why I dislike LeBron James. And I used to be a big fan of LeBron James. It's just, can you hold yourself accountable once? Can you lose with some class? Can you not just make up things and act like you don't get to call every shot in the organization and things like that? That's, to me, the part about LeBron where it just rubs me the wrong way. And for years, I would debate people and tell people that they were wrong, but I would rather have slightly fewer accomplishments. I had the same amount of championships, and you look at the impact and the culture impact with Steph Curry in the game and how he changed the game with a three-point shot and just this ridiculous distance. I get it. LeBron's the second greatest player of all time. Second greatest. Yeah, better player than Steph Curry. But it's not as if Steph doesn't have this all-time great resume, because he's one of the greatest NBA players we've ever seen, and he's so much more likable. He's so much more easier to root for. And I know I'm not going to get any of this bull crap that LeBron should be above That's the problem. Like, Stu, is anyone sitting there and still talking about the Lakers today if LeBron just would have bowed out graciously? Right? There weren't high expectations for this team.
No.
But every time he loses, the guy acts like an ass.
Makes it worse. Just makes it 100 times worse when it doesn't need to be.
Would you rather be LeBron or you rather be Steph?
I'd probably still rather be LeBron. I have a hard time separating like the likability.
Yeah, it's fair.
I'm not someone like that. I don't think like the athlete I like has to be like the greatest guy. So I agree with you. Like LeBron's annoying. He annoys the hell out of me a lot of these days.
And you're a Laker fan.
Yes, and I am. But sometimes I'm just like, all right, dude, enough.
You're
Enough
ready for the LeBron James era to end in Los Angeles? He's going to be back next year, right?
He's going to be back next year.
That's a player option?
I'd kind of like to see one run with Luka and kind of a few other pieces, but I think next year, kind of hoping next year's the last year.
Well, this is the other thing too, and LeBron, and he's deserving of a retirement tour. He will take the retirement tour. I don't expect him to just retire this offseason out of nowhere. If I'm wrong on that, I'm wrong on that. But with that being said, and I also remember they lost a few years ago, right? He's like, who knows how much longer I'll play and things like that. All right, it's very Aaron Rodgers like. When Aaron Rodgers loses, it's the same as when LeBron James loses. There's always something that's said crazy at the podium to distract you from the fact that they lost. It always happens. It's honestly just sickening at this point. But I'm good. Like what? We have to now hear Doris Burke say, it's year 23. Oh, he's 42. Like, is that what we're going to do next year? The thing that people don't really talk about a lot, and I know we're having fun a little bit with this mild injury. LeBron, though, he plays at such a high level still. He's still a top 5 player in the league. He's unbelievable what he's able to do at this age. But he suffered a lot of injuries since going to Los Angeles. Some of them that actually made him miss some significant time. For years when LeBron was in Miami, Cleveland, where were the injuries? They weren't there. So even though what he's doing is so impressive still, and I'll give LeBron that way, right? Hot take of the day. What LeBron does is still impressive. But his body's giving him signs that the body's not supposed to play at this level in this sport. And there's things that keep on popping up in Los Angeles where he's been injured more in Los Angeles than he's had anywhere before in his career. So I'm okay with one more year. I don't need one more year of LeBron. Do I think he's going to win a championship again in Los Angeles? I do not. But when you lose LeBron, you don't need to keep on making these excuses and lying to us and being, if I give my honest opinion, I'll get traded like Anthony Davis. Come on. You're insulting our intelligence. I'm not a bright guy. I'm not the sharpest, guy in the world. But come on. I'm not just this idiot that's going to sit there and be the sycophant of whatever LeBron James says is 110% truthful. It is Zach Gelb Show right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. When Tyler Loop was drafted by the Baltimore Ravens, the kicker from Arizona, a lot of people were like, oh, that's it for Justin Tucker. But up until that, there was a question on if the Ravens would continue to employ and stand by Justin Tucker, who, by the way, has been accused of inappropriate behavior by 16 massage therapists from 8 different Baltimore spas and wellness centers. That's tweet is via Adam Schefter with that information. And all the alleged incidents occurred during 2012 to 2016. But that story did come out this past year. So there was a question up until that point, would the Ravens take a kicker in the draft, or are they going to stand by their kicker? Well, the Ravens have made that decision, and the Baltimore Ravens, after drafting Tyler Loop, have now released Justin Tucker, and they're saying that this is a football decision. Now, I got to be fair here, because if I'm going to sit here and basically just talk about LeBron for the last 20 minutes, and with this injury report and how he wouldn't have played Game 6, and also just the jackassery that LeBron James was saying in terms of the fact that, oh, yeah, I can't really speak my mind because AD did, and then AD got traded. Now, I know it's weird to compare these two things because what LeBron is doing is not really a big deal, if we're being serious. This is serious nature things that could have happened. But the Baltimore Ravens releasing a statement and them calling this a football decision, come on. I understand Justin Tucker didn't have a good year last year. Justin Tucker, I don't think he's the greatest kicker in NFL history. He's one of the greatest kickers in NFL history. I'd much rather be Adam Vinatieri than Justin Tucker, and that's even before these allegations. Obviously, no one wants to be Justin Tucker right now with these allegations, but this is not just me saying, oh, Tucker isn't the greatest kicker ever after these allegations came out. But the Ravens saying that this is a football decision, like, do you guys think we're stupid? I understand the guy didn't have a good year. If he didn't have these allegations, Stu, who would be the kicker for the Baltimore Ravens this upcoming season?
It'd be Justin Tucker.
Absolutely. So the Ravens released this statement. Sometimes football decisions are incredibly difficult, and this is one of those instances. Considering our current roster, we made the tough decision to release Justin Tucker. Justin created many significant and unforgettable moments in Ravens history. His reliability, focus, drive, resilience, and extraordinary talent made him one of the league's best kickers for over a decade. We are grateful for Justin's many contributions while playing for the Ravens. We sincerely wish him and his family the very best in this next chapter of their lives. And that's a statement from the executive vice president and general manager of the Baltimore Ravens, and Eric DeCosta. So I understand that they're just allegations, right? Serious allegations. But, right, sometimes allegations are made and they're not true. This, to me, says that the Ravens say either the juice isn't worth the squeeze anymore, or we just believe the allegations are true. We don't want to put up with what else is around the corner with this. And also, at the end of the day, even though he's a very good kicker, and I know kicking is a huge part of the game, if this was a quarterback, do you think Justin Tucker's still in the Ravens? I do. But kickers, I know it's tough to say you could find another Justin Tucker, but you could find another kicker. All right? So I guess the Ravens here, they're really working that this is a football decision when you start wishing him all the best when you don't need to stand by him at this point and thanking him for all that he's done. But this is not a football decision. This is, hey, this guy's a kicker. Even though he's an all-time great kicker, these allegations are ugly. These allegations are nasty. We'll draft a kicker and hope that this kid could turn out to be good. And, hey, Justin Tucker is getting a little bit up there in age. That's what this is. If there were no allegations, Justin Tucker, who, by the way, the Ravens did stand by before these allegations were public, and still did stand by him up until today when these allegations became public. But when Justin Tucker was struggling this year, and there were legitimate conversations with the Ravens move on from Justin Tucker, and at the time, I thought that was crazy, right? You're not going to give this guy the benefit of the doubt in terms of kicking because he's finally having a bad season? And Harbaugh stood by him. But now, when these allegations come out, it's, oh, well, he's slowing down. He's not that good of a kicker anymore. But you never thought about moving on from him until the allegations did come out. And also, let's be real. Did maybe Justin Tucker know these allegations were coming? And it's from 2012 to 2016, where things maybe back-channeled to him. Did he maybe hear some whispers and maybe that impacted his play on the field with how mental kicking is? I'm not going to rule that out. I don't think that's crazy to say. But come on, Baltimore. This is not a football decision. And you're entitled to make this decision. I'm actually surprised it didn't happen earlier. But you made a decision, and you made this decision because of the allegations. Which, once again, if the allegations are true, Justin Tucker is a horrible human being. And he shouldn't be kicking. But the idea that this is only a football decision, please. If Justin Tucker was 27 and still kicking bombs for you, and you were in the postseason, and let's say these allegations came out, are you rushing to release him? No, you're not. But that's what the Ravens are saying. It's a football decision. And here's what I would ask. If it's a football decision, you just drafted a kicker, why wouldn't you then just bring Justin Tucker to camp and have them compete? Right? Kickers get drafted all the time, and a lot of them stink. So why wouldn't you let him compete for his job? Why wouldn't you do that? Because it's not really a football decision. And I know what they would say. Well, we respect Justin too much. The writing's on the wall. We drafted a kicker. We want him to go succeed somewhere else. Here's my question. Does Justin Tucker get picked up by any other team if we don't get more clarity on these allegations? Stu, do you think Justin Tucker has played his final game in the NFL?
I would think yes.
Samter, has Justin Tucker played his final game in the NFL?
Man, I think if there's more clarity, then maybe not. Or if things get worse. I think the big thing, honestly, is he kicked 95% in 2021, 86% in 2022, 86% in 2023, and a career low 73% last year.
Yeah. I
think the issue is less about, not less, but it's not as much about, it's about the fact that he's declining as a kicker.
Sure, but has anyone said Justin Tucker was declining up until this year? This was the first year it was, oh my goodness gracious, Justin Tucker is looking human. This is the first year. The stats can say what the stats say. This was the first year anyone said, even before these allegations came out, Justin Tucker is not looking like the immortal Justin Tucker. So I do think someone would sign him if there weren't these allegations. I still think the Ravens would have kept him if there weren't these allegations. And if he's a quarterback, right? Look what Deshaun Watson was accused of. He got a fully guaranteed contract for a quarterback. It's because of the power of that position, and the NFL is very forgiving if you're not in a jail cell. And even if you are in a jail, there's already talks that Henry Ruggs is going to get out of prison and get onto an NFL team, which is crazy to me. But that's the NFL. They will look the other way if the juice is worth the squeeze. And the Baltimore Ravens today are saying, yeah, what's being talked about off the field is not worth it for us. And if Justin Tucker was still great, and I'm not saying he still can't be great, another team would pick him up. But now it's convenient to say, oh, he's declining. Oh, he's not that great after 1 year where it wasn't a good year because of what the allegations are. So that's all I'm saying here is I'm going to say that he doesn't play again because I think people are going to say, basically what Samter said. I had a bad year this year. But in reality, it's had a bad year with also big off-the-field problems. And it's just not worth it for a kicker. If it's a quarterback, if these allegations, let's say I don't want to throw quarterbacks there, that's not right. But if these allegations were made about a quarterback, the quarterback would have a job even if his old team didn't want him in a second. If you don't believe me, look at the Deshaun Watson situation. It's that simple.
It just reminds me of another former Baltimore Ravens, Ray Rice. Right?
Yeah.
He had the off-field incident, and everyone pointed to the fact that 1,000-yard season, 1,000-yard season, 1,000-yard season, 1,000-yard season, 660-yard season in 2013. Mm-hmm. Then he had the off-field issue, and then there was the excuse, well, he's declining. He's getting to that age as a running back. And so there was the excuse of okay, well, this thing happened.
Yeah, but they really had they tried to sweep that under the rug. In the NFL, they could deny it all they want. The NFL is as powerful as could be. They didn't just see that video the first time TMZ got it. Especially, it happened in a casino, too. They just thought they could sweep it under the rug. There was also video there. Now, hey, a bad act is a bad act. But how many times do you read something and then there's not outrage until you see a video? And when you had at the time Ray Rice, who punched, I believe it was his fiance. Now they're still together, actually. And when he knocks her out cold in an elevator, I thought Ray Rice would maybe get picked up somewhere else, but you knew that the Baltimore Ravens were going to have to get rid of him.
No, for sure, but he never played again in the NFL. Yeah. And we talk about video, Kareem Hunt, there was video, but he was coming off of a season where he won the rushing title, so he got a second chance, and here he is back in the NFL. I think a lot of it, we've seen a lot of football players and athletes do bad things. If they're declining or their career numbers or their recent numbers aren't worth the snuff.
If you're good, a team's going to look the other way.
Yes,
that's the bottom line. Now, I think we're actually closer here than the way that it may sound on the radio, Samter. I'm not saying that you can't make the case that Justin Tucker is declining. But if there weren't these allegations, Justin Tucker is still kicking for the Ravens, or he's kicking somewhere else. He would be given another opportunity to go somewhere else. But when someone's declining, or if someone didn't have a good year and there's off-the-field allegations, that's when it piles up into them. People try to sell you, oh, this is a football decision only. This is not a football decision only by the Baltimore Ravens. This is more off the field, and then they made it convenient for them to then say it's a football decision. Anyway, this is Zach Gelb on the Infinity Sports Network. Update time. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
Well, the Ravens have released future Hall of Fame kicker Justin Tucker, calling it a football decision. The 35-year-old is coming off his worst season, but is also the subject of an investigation following allegations of improper conduct at Baltimore massage parlors. Michigan head coach Sharon Moore will miss 2 games next season as part of a self-imposed suspension by the school. Disciplinary action stems from the Connor Stallions scouting scandal when Moore was the offensive coordinator and allegedly deleted text messages with Stallion. The Thunder are the top seed in the West and certainly looked the part in the first round, sweeping the Grizzlies after being off for the last 9 days. They're back in action, hosting Denver to open the second round. Both lost in this round a year ago, and given that Denver isn't far removed from a championship, Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault said this certainly will be a big challenge.
Great team, great players, great competitors, team we have a lot of respect for. We're obviously very familiar with them from the last few years. They've had a lot of continuity. We've had a lot of continuity, so great familiarity. It'd be a great series, and looking forward to competing.
The first game of the night features the Knicks and Celtics in Boston. The Jazz have given head coach Will Hardy an extension. The Maple Leafs host the defending champion Florida Panthers in Game 1 of their second-round series. I'm Rich Hacker.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. From the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
It's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Chris in Boston says, hey, Zach, who do you think wins the games tonight in the NBA postseason? You can submit a question by tweeting at INS Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. I think the Celtics win tonight. I think it's going to be closer than what people think, but I'll take the C's on their home court in game one. But if you ask me who has a better chance to pull out the upset tonight, I actually think it's the Knicks compared to the Nuggets. The Nuggets having to go through a game 7 and that series wrap it up on Saturday. I think the Thunder, who are well rested now, there could be some rust, but I think the Thunder are going to smoke Denver tonight. I really do. So, and also OKC's a 10.5 point favorite. Isn't that when you had the best player in the league in Nikola Jokic? If I'm a bettor, that's screaming for me to plus the points. I hate betting the NBA. But I would lay the number, even though a lot of these games, it always seems like if you lay the number, it's going to work, and then the game always finds a way to be close at the end. So I think both home teams win tonight. Thunder and also the Boston Celtics. So we have 2 game ones in the second round of the NBA postseason coming up later tonight. Celtics and Knicks at TD Garden. That's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, Nuggets and Thunder. Hey, by the way, West Coast time watching sports events is actually not that bad. Now, I would say, I would still think Mountain Time would be the best time zone because in football season, I don't know if I want to be watching 9 a.m. football, if I'm being honest, and have that be the entirety of the 1 o'clock slate. But watching some of these big games, hockey and hockey and basketball, Stu, when I was in Vegas at 4:30 p.m., it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, that had to be a vibe. I know when I was out there Phoenix a few months ago now, I was like, wow, this is nice. And that was before we got any playoffs. That was still regular season hockey and basketball. But I was like, 4 o'clock starts is pretty cool.
Don't get me wrong. There was a buzz in every sports book we went to when there was a hockey playoff game on and also an NBA playoff game on. But spending that Saturday for the 15 minutes in the sports book for the build-up to the Kentucky Derby, and I ran over and placed a bet on 9-1 with Sovereignty. And then for the 2 minutes in the race, just seeing everyone's reaction, that sports book, it was standing room, right? There was seats, but then there was a lot of standing room. and you were elbow to elbow with everybody, and the pop and the environment and the atmosphere in the sports book for horse racing was pretty damn cool. And they were passing out roses to everyone and things like that. So I had a rose in my hand. I was like, Sovereignty, go, 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 go. And to be honest, the horse came out of nowhere. All right? I'm watching that race because it was so muddy and so rainy, so it was tough to see. And Larry Collins does a great job for NBC. They have the horses that are in the first 5 places. And you could see it on the screen. The horse wasn't there for most of it. And then down the stretch, I was watching. It was tough to see, really. And the guy next to me was like, come on, 18. I'm like, yeah, go 18, go 18. And then it was Sovereignty against, what was the other horse?
Journalism.
Oh, journalism, right? So, yeah. It was like Sovereignty against journalism. Sovereignty is going to find a way to win the Kentucky Derby. And now we'll see what happens with the race to the Triple Crown. So that's what I really took away from the sports scene out there in Vegas. But the baseball stadium's getting built. The area has been decided where it's getting built, obviously. So football obviously is out there. Now, you've never been to a Raiders game, though.
I have not yet, no.
Hockey games there are electric. Stu, Samter, I was in the football stadium with you.
We were on the field.
Yeah, that's right. And then you big time me to go to the hockey game. I invited you to the hockey game, and you had plans. Jeez. Samter's like moving and grooving in Las Vegas. Big time me.
I didn't go to a hockey game. You went to the hockey game.
I know, and I invited you.
Oh.
Yeah, and you forgot to respond to me. Then you saw me like an hour after the show, and you go, "Oh, I can't make it." Yeah, I think you went to the Gatorade party or something like that.
Yeah, something.
Yeah,
I don't make enough money to have gone to that game.
I was treating you. Oh my goodness gracious! I was bringing you to the game. I said you'll come with me. You'll go. But anyway, the only thing missing there is basketball. They got to get a basketball team soon. There's no. I'm surprised they haven't had a basketball team out there. But you used to go to Vegas, right? And it was up. Gambling, sports, no. In terms of all the teams that are treated. And now you got a great hockey team there. The football team can't get their act together, but we'll see if that changes. And you got a baseball team coming. So that's going to be pretty damn cool. Oh, and by the way, I admit when I'm right, and I admit when I'm wrong. I still don't think In-N-Out is like the greatest thing I've ever had. But I golfed on Friday. Beautiful course. Sienna Golf Club. I played really well. I was surprised how well I was hitting the driver. And I'm not this great golfer. I wouldn't even say I'm a good golfer. But I was hitting the ball. And afterwards, we're all starving. Playing golf, having a few transfusions, right? Drinking, having a good time on the course. And someone said, we got to get In-N-Out. Now, I'm a little mortified from the last time I had In-N-Out because I heard all the hype about In-N-Out, how great In-N-Out is, and I had it and I thought it stunk. So I said, you know what, let me have a little In-N-Out redemption. The fries are not good at In-N-Out. I could do without the fries. They're not good. Mark Hochman said, get them all done. I got them all done. The fries are well below average. But the double-double animal-style burger, after not eating a lot during the day, after playing golf and need a little pick-me-up, I will say I will no longer call In-N-Out overrated. I still don't think it's the greatest thing. People are like, oh, it's the greatest thing I've ever had. But I will not call it overrated. I was very, very happy with the In-N-Out burger that I did have in Las Vegas. See? I can admit when I'm wrong sometimes.
That was the one thing that stood out to me. I saw a lot of your posts this weekend, and when I saw that, it just changed my entire outlook on, if ranch and blue cheese is your indicator for a successful NFL player, In-N-Out for me is whether or not I can actually like you. And when you change your mind, I'm like, okay, me and Zach, we're good.
Wait, now hold on. So you didn't like me the last 2 years we worked together because I hated In-N-Out? Is that what you just revealed?
Oh my gosh, despised.
And you're a ranch guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I guess I don't like you. And Stu, you're a ranch guy as well.
Yes, I am.
A ranch and a cat guy, too. Oh, my, I don't like
right.
the people that I work with here. What's going on? This is terrible. This is miserable. We all hate each other here.
No, I don't hate you anymore. You can still hate me all you want.
We're actually like one of the few shows where we don't all hate each other. I'm just kidding. Stu, you want to say something there? I got anything out there, Stu?
I'm good.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. Anyway, It is the Zach Gelb Show, the Infinity Sports Network. I saw Santaono, the president of Michigan, is leaving. He's going to become the president of Florida. And then also, Michigan is suspending Sharon Moore 2 games from the whole Stallion scandal, and it's weeks 3 and 4. So conveniently, they play Oklahoma in the first 2 weeks of the season, week 2. So maybe the NCAA, I don't know if they're going to drop the hammer on Michigan. I think the whole thing is ridiculous at this point. But I do wonder, the NCAA doesn't have a lot of power anymore, especially with NIL and the transfer portal. And I know that they're as slow as molasses when it comes to handing out punishments, and they're always like, miss the mark. Maybe this is the way that the NCAA starts to flex their muscles a little bit again. I think it'd be stupid. I don't think it'd be worth it to do this, but Michigan giving a 2-game suspension to Moore, and it's weeks 3 and 4, like, yeah, I don't believe in that. I don't think he should get suspended. Right? I've been supporting and defending Michigan on this. I think the whole Stallions thing was overblown to begin with. But either you're going to legitimately suspend the coach or not. And the way that they're suspending the coach is a little fugazi, if you just ask me. And I know it's happened before where coaches have been suspended in college basketball. They don't miss like conference games and things like that. But come on, what are we doing here? Like, if you're going to spend the coach for 2 weeks, you're just going to pick 3 and 4. Not the first 2 weeks of the season, just weeks 3 and 4. Weird to me. Stoop, thank you. Sam, thank you. Act, thank you. Each and every one of you, thank you for tuning on in. Whether it's listening via the radio, Sirius XM, or watching us on YouTube or on the free Odyssey app. We'll be back tomorrow. This is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll talk to you, everybody, at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. We out. Bye-bye.